a course of vigorous action, the first step in which is personal house cleaning. Y'all follow? Y'all get the visual there? We launched out on a course of vigorous action. There was no amen after the third step prayer, guys. It was intended to be worked all at one time. All of this in one little fell swoop. Third step prayer, fourth step, fifth step, sixth step, seventh step, there's an amen. All at one time. Everybody wants to divide this up, and this is how I think we're killing people. If I've got a guy I'm sponsoring, and we talk about, and I qualify this cat, he's an alcoholic, or I find out he's a drug addict, and send him to that fellowship, or he's both, and I keep him with me. Either way, we're going to get on with a stick here. And within a couple of days, we're going to do a second. We're going to talk about that same night, and the third step prayer, same. And then I'm going to give him a little notebook and let him start working on this fourth step. I'm going to give him the directions in pieces so that he doesn't get overwhelmed, but we're going to get through it. I'm going to give him 1 week to do this fourth step. You'll follow? Some of you have been in here working on a fourth step for 9 months. Oh, my God. Y'all take what I got to say with a grain of salt, but this is what it was intended to be. Was not the all-American novel. This is not the great American writing here. This was a simple inventory. It's a fact-finding mission. It is not this long, drawn-out. The treatment centers over the years have turned it into a therapeutic. We need to write a life story. You need to know every little area of your body. They're taking things out of context out of the book to make it sound like this needs to be a long-winded deal, and it doesn't have to be. Now, some people come to us in a little better shape than others. And the first attempt through this, remember what we're talking about is getting a guy through the steps of the first time. If a little brother in the back that's sober 10 years wants me to do the work with him, we're going to do a little different kind of fourth step. You'll follow? And I'm going to let him take his time on this a little bit. We're going to go a little deeper maybe and look at some other things. First time through, I want him to stop bleeding. Can y'all get down with where we're going with it? I want the bleeding to stop. This is like going into an emergency room in triage. That's what this is all about. I don't have time for this guy to sit on his butt for 6 months and work on a fourth step. Because he may not, remember the window we talked about earlier? This window may not stay open 6 months. And if it closes while he's in the middle of this fourth step, he's going to drink again. Everybody's got the idea that this fourth step is just this gut-grinding deal. Go into any AA meeting and tell them, I'm working on a fourth step. And listen to everybody groan. Oh, you poor thing. I remember my fourth step. It was just shit. It was just hell. I don't understand that. Because if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, there's nothing grindy about this. This is an inventory. Make sense? I'm going to do an inventory about the resentment inventory of the people, institutions, and principles that I'm pissed at. And I'm going to spend some time and I'm going to look at my truth over in the fourth column, and then I'm going to go on to the next one. I'm not going to give the big bad thing that you cats seem to want to not ever let go of any more attention than I am the cat that scratched up my chair. Y'all understand this? This is not therapy. We're not going to say, I don't think she's ready to do a fourth step yet. Why? She's not ready to relive the molestation. We're not asking her to do that. We're asking her to make a list of the person she's pissed at. And then look at why she's pissed at it. And then look at how it's affected her. And then look at her part. Well, she doesn't play a part. Yes, she does. Not as big a part as the person that did the bad thing. She still played a part. You'll follow? We can do these, guys. We can do them all afternoon long, and we can see this. This is about not being a victim. Marianne Williamson said this great little quote. I brought it, and a little guy out of New York sent it to me. The spiritual meaning of every situation is not what happens to us, but who we decide to become because of what happens to us. You'll follow? That's the coolest things about getting to know you guys and watch and see what you walk through, and then watch you use what you've been through to help other people. You can't help somebody else if you're still grinding about it. If you're not past it, if you're not through it, you can't help anybody with it. Make sense? And that's part of this fourth step business, is to allow us to get through it. You know, the idea of... You know how they make steel? They put it in the fire. And you ain't got to make steel by going around it. You got to go right straight through it. And that's what so many people want to avoid. Fourth step is not therapeutic in nature. It's an inventory where you make a list of the things that you're still hanging on to, including the resentment to yourself. I was talking to somebody at break. Well, my sponsor told me I shouldn't put my name on that inventory list. My book says you should. Top of page 66 talks about remorse and that we were sore at ourselves. If you're sore at yourself, you need to put your name on that list. A lot of you guys, I sponsor one guy and he's got 200 names on his inventory. You with this? Mr. Victim. He's hated everybody he's ever met in his entire life, in his life. And then I sponsor somebody that's got 20 names on his inventory. You with us? Now, people in the treatment center industry say, well, this guy hasn't done a thorough 4-step because he's only got 20 names. But the truth is, some of us just weren't filled with a lot of hate. We just didn't learn to hang on to a lot of this stuff. You'll follow? There's some of you in here that's who you are. If I took the hate away from you, this is your resentments. If I took that away from you, you'd implode because you wouldn't have anything to grind your teeth about. You follow? And everybody in here knows who I'm talking about, because every meeting it's the same thing. You're always pissed. And it's like, do a good 4-step and get past this resentment. And I got to tell you, you'll think you're losing your mind because all of this hate and all of this anger and this it just disappears. And all of a sudden you get taken to a different spot. It's a pretty cool place to be. Inventory work is the coolest. And I do it, and I do it often. And I'll give you the rundown. I'm going to make a list of this in a 4-column inventory. You can combine these two. They do in the book. They combine a 4th and a 3rd in there. I'm going to look at who I'm cranky at. People, institutions, banks, cops, IRS. You with me? Institutions, principals. You'll follow? I'm a big CNN junkie. I got a lot of stuff that pisses me off. Republicans, they piss me off. Democrats, they piss me off. I don't. It's just everybody. And I can get a head of steam behind it. I can get ahead of the right to lifers. Don't even get me started. And this is the stuff I grind. Doesn't mean that you can't be excited about life and interested and involved. But when you're pissed, you got to back up because you're losing your effectiveness. So I put the name down. I look at the reason I'm pissed. You got to be honest in here. One of the things that you guys have a problem with is honesty. True. She's never there. That's so not true. Often when I needed her, she was not there. You'll follow? Avoid words like always and never in a 4-step because it's never right. You'll follow? Isn't it the truth? We never have sex. That's just not true. As often I would like, perhaps. Then we'll go here. All right, but look at the cause. If I lie over here, then I'm going to be lost over here. I got to get really specific, and this is a fact-finding deal. I'm going to look at how it affected me. Guys, there's areas. We've got 4-step guides you can download on some of these websites we give you on here. And you can look in the book. There's 7 areas that are affected. My self-esteem, my pride, my pocketbook, my security. Y'all with us? All of those areas that are affected. And I'm going to list those down. I'm not going to do a bunch of writing around there. There's people that have you do that. The book is pretty explicit. Just list the damn word and move on. And then I'm going to try to get to this 4th column. This is where the miracle takes place, folks. A lot of you cats, you spend so much time worried about all of this up here, you never get to this. My mistake is the 4th column. Now, this is where I cease being a victim. You see what I'm doing here. Who are you pissed at? Patty. Why? No pokey pokey. Then you look over here. Then you look at the 3rd one. How did that affect me? All 7 areas. I'm victim. Guys, listen. Y'all are laughing. Y'all look around this thing. If it's sex or checks, it's going to affect every area of your life. You want to look at the 2 things that we get cranky about: sex and money. Isn't that right? Sex and checks. The guys in Alabama, is it green or pink? It's women or money. That's all. I don't know. All right. So I'm going to look in this 4th column, my part. So I'm coming up to this point, and I say a victim. And that's why we don't want you guys to take a long time doing this, because you'll get heated up here, and then you're going to stop, and you're going to look at the 4th column, and you're going to start looking at your part. There's 4 areas. Where have I been selfish and self-centered? Where the selfish and self-centeredness is the root of the problem. Where have I been dishonest, and where have I been afraid? Where's fear playing a part of this? Now look at these areas. Now guys, if I can see my part in this, I can get free of this resentment. Now this is just a spiritual principle. This is a fact. You'll follow? If I can't see my part, I'll remain a victim. And if I remain a victim, I ain't going to get this business. You'll follow? Victims don't get sober, folks. Victimized people get sober every day. But if you remain a victim, you will not get sober. You may get sober, you won't stay sober. You follow? Guys, I got to say this again, and so many times that people want to come up afterwards and say, but you couldn't talk like that from the podium. You don't know what it's like to be molested. No, I don't. But I do watch people that have been molested, that have gotten through it, that are able to help other people who have been molested. You think you're the only person, you idiot, that's ever been traumatized? Again, that's selfish and self-centeredness on steroids. Y'all understand that? I had my own deal, You don't know what it's like being blind in one eye. And I could laugh about it today, but I got to tell you guys, for years I milked this. You don't know what it's like, always in the patch, and girls make fun of you and the pirate jokes, and oh my gosh, it's just... We can laugh about it today, but back in the day, we weren't laughing about it. Y'all following? All right. But here's the deal. Let's say a person really, really hurt you. You've got this big, huge resentment. This is the bad thing that they did. And this is your little part. Anytime you're judging somebody, you're being selfish. So selfish is going to show up in every damn deal because we're... This program, thank God this program is about mercy and not justice. Because I am guilty. I'm a judge and jury. I've got you hung before you leave the room. Y'all follow? And that's what we always want to do. He hurt me. Yes, he did. Did you play a part in this? Yes, you did. That's the hardest pill to swallow. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Did you place yourself in a position to be hurt? Yes. Were you drunk at the time? Yes. That didn't mean that you caused it. Didn't mean you set it up. Did you play a part? Yes. That's it. Stop looking for blame here. He's to blame. She's to blame. Y'all follow? You're making it sound like everything that happened was my fault. No, but you played a part in this experience. When did it happen? When I was 3. How old are you now? 50? And you're still grinding your teeth over it, aren't you? How many days have you taken this cat's inventory? You'll follow? We're not saying you're right, he's wrong. He's wrong. But you played a part, you can get free. If you can see it, move on to the next one. Y'all follow? It's no different than that. We're not going to give any more time to this than we are some simple little resentment. He passed me over for a promotion. Y'all understand that? When you get to see your 4th column, you can get free. And then we're going to move on to the next part of the inventory.
So let's take the example of the 3-year-old who's been molested and the 50-year-old who's thinking back at it. Mm-hmm. What's the little part there? That I've been grinding over it for 47 years?
Did you tell anybody? No. It's dishonest. It's dishonest. You've been holding on to this yourself. You've been trying to walk through this all by yourself. Selfish and self-centered. How many times have you assassinated this guy's character? Let me tell you something. For somebody that's sponsored people that have been on both sides of the coin, I would rather be the molested than the molester. They live in a hell all their own. But everybody's so quick to judge. You see, but I didn't make that person. And I can't cast the first stone. I can simply sit back and say, God, thank you that I'm not in that hot spot. Make sense? The bad thing that happened 50 years ago. But I've kept it alive and allowed it to affect my life for 50 years. I am wrong to do that. That is not who I am. This again, we talk about it, guys. I'm sorry if I'm irritating some of you. I realize I get pretty passionate about this. But we got too many victims out there that can't help anybody because they can't get through this themselves. It's the trump card that everybody wants to hold on to. The first time you get close to me, I'm going to throw the trump card down. And then everybody backs off. Now, isn't that wrong of me to do that? I'm not Chris Raymer, the man that was molested. I'm just Chris Raymer. But you want to remind me every time we turn around that I'm Chris Raymer, the molested. Make sense? That's wrong. I'm using this to hold you at bay. I'll never let you get close. I'll never be able to go help you because of this. You'll follow? Man, you guys don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying this is not difficult and hard to do, but we as a society make this harder than it's supposed to be. You follow? You somehow think it's your right to suffer. It's not. Because God didn't put you on this earth to suffer. God put you on this earth to help somebody else. But you can't help somebody else if you're still suffering. You can identify it and then move on and try to help them. Does that make sense? That's what this is about. The greatest gift God ever gave me was my alcoholism. That's true. because I not only suffered from it, I overcame it, came out the other side, and now I'm able to go help somebody else. You follow? The cats that I know in the fellowship, that's one of the greatest things about the fellowship, is that I know so many people, and I know parts of their story. And I'll get a guy that'll come to me that's suffering from post-traumatic stress from the war. And I was never in the war, although I told people I was for a long time. It was always good for a few drinks. But these people that are suffering from post-acute withdrawal and post-traumatic stress, I can't help because I've never been through it. But I know guys that have been in the war, that have been traumatized, that have been through it. And I can connect them. And so I can help them with the steps, but I can also connect them to people in the program that can help them with this other business. Y'all follow what we're saying? This is not therapy. This is an inventory. Follow? You're not going to give this bad stuff any more power to harm you. It's going to cease affecting you at a certain point here. If you can see the truth going out the backside. Make sense, guys? Some of y'all are still grindy about it. I'm sure sorry. It's your right to remain a victim till the day you die. What a waste. What a waste. You go on to the next piece and you move on. You can have 60 names on here. You can have 600. I don't care. But the deal is I'm going to give you a week to do it. So if you got 600, you better write quick. Because Saturday night, we're going to do a fifth step. Y'all follow? I've got a little fear inventory. I've seen these little step guide studies with these pages of how to do a fear inventory. There's 2 questions on a fear inventory. What was the fear, and why do you think you got it? That's the inventory. You want to do an extended and try to analyze all of this, go ahead. But that's not what the big book is asking us to do. It's asking us to list the fear and why we think we've got it. And I'm going to list that. I'm going to go through the other side. Those of us that think we don't have any fear are the ones that have the most. You'll follow? In my sponsorship lineage, it's the big joke. By the time we finish listing what we think we got, it would be easier to list things that we're not afraid of. Little bunny rabbits. Okay, I got that one. I'm not afraid of little bunny. We do a sex inventory after that. It's a quick little sex inventory. Sex inventory has got nothing to do really with sex. It's got to do with my behavior towards the opposite sex. I hear people all the time talking about it. If we all did a proper 4th and 5th step, we could all share our 5th steps together, and there would be no sweaty, I'm embarrassed to tell you about this, because we're not talking about it. We're talking about my behavior. Where did I unjustifiably arouse jealousy, suspicion, and bitterness? It's about my behavior towards the opposite sex. It ain't about pokey. You with me? If I got a guy that I'm sponsoring, he sits down and he says, oh, goody, now we get to talk about this. I'm sending him on his way, because he obviously didn't do it the way it was supposed to be done. Y'all follow? Sex inventory is not about the numbers of times you've had sex and what you did. It's your treatment of the opposite sex. You with us? I still do resentment inventory when I do a sex inventory. I still have to write stuff down. I'm in a monogamous relationship with my wife. There's no extramarital sex, but there's flirting involved. And I have to look at me because I'm a flirt and a half. A shy one, albeit, but I'm a flirt and a half. And I have to look at that. It may be fine for me, it may be fine for you, but it may be making Patty really uncomfortable. You follow? I have to watch that. And it shows up on my sex inventory. Make sense? Yeah.
That one stick if you don't mind. That's an example. You say, what is my mistake? I'm on my way to the seminar, this workshop today, okay? Just for argument's sake. I get off the station and I'm being mugged on my way here. It's early in the morning, it's not late at night, I'm not doing anything for years. I get bugged, they take my watch, they take my wallet. I'm really pissed at these guys. What's my mistake? Being pissed at them?
It could be as simple as that. I'm judging them. Never walked a day in their shoes. They're drug addicts. They probably need the money. I'm not going to rationalize it. Y'all think this is about judging. Again, it's about trying to figure out why it happened. It's not. It's I just need to see my part. Why can another person be mugged and go, God, that's just life. What the heck? I hope they needed the money more than me. And then me, I stay all torn up about it all day long because of what happened. I just have to look at what's my truth. You follow? The truth is that we allow these resentments to block us from the sunlight of the Spirit. I know we have some of you in here I've talked to that are Christians. The Bible talks kind of specifically about this. I'm going to go in 10 and 11, and I'm going to do some prayer and meditation. I'm going to try to talk to God every day. God, I want you to take care of my kids and my wife and my health. And thank you, God, for it. You with me? I'm going to God petitioning for all this help. But the little guy over here that I was in business with that stole a couple $100 from me, I'm going to curse him on a daily basis. I'm going to go to God and ask for His protection and care, but I'm not willing to grant my own brother on earth some mercy. You follow that? The Bible's specific. Lay your offering down and go clean up your mess with the guys here on earth, and then come back to me with that. You got hate in your heart and you expect to be blessed? I think not. You follow? Guys, a lot of things in this world, buddies, that I just don't like. I come in a country whose government just makes me want to scream sometimes. I understand, but I got to get it to a spot where I'm not judging everybody. I cannot be the jury and the judge. I have to just be a passenger on this bus with everybody else. And I'm flawed too. You with me? That's what I hate sometimes about doing this, is people start looking up to us as like we're some gurus. We can't fail. Oh my gosh, we're so flawed. I mean, look at he's as flawed as they come. I know, that's sad. That's sad. We do this little sex inventory. We jot it out like this, guys. Combine the ones. If you don't remember their names, just put a little identification on there, a little quick brief story, what happened, and we're going to go in there. We're going to look at those 9 areas in there that were affected. That's what we're looking at. My truth. So I can stop doing the same thing. You with me? I came into Alcoholics Anonymous with the belief that all women were evil, because everyone I picked was mean to me. What was the common denominator with all those women? I love you. Who picked that woman? I did. Who picked that job? I did. Who picked that town to live in? I did. Why? When are you going to take some responsibility here? You want to blame everybody? Oh, okay. So I'm going to do these 3 inventories, and then I'm going to get somebody to do it with me. To do the 5th step. Guys, the book is pretty explicit. We want somebody that understands what this process is about. I hear people in treatment all the time. You can do this 5th step with anybody. I went to the bus station and got just a person in the bus station and did my 5th step. Are you nuts? One, why would you like to? No. I'm going to do my 5th step with a priest. If the priest happens to be in the program, that's cool with me. If he's not in the program, it's not cool with me. I don't want to be absolved of this, because that's what people are going to do. I'm going to do it with my therapist. The therapist is just going to look at me and say, "You did what? With what? It's no wonder you drank." That'll be $75. It's like, wait. You want to go find another drunk to do your 4th step with, the 5th step with. Guys, when I do a 5th step with a guy I'm working with, I do a little peace of mind with him so he gets to know what this is about. You follow? We're all bozos on this bus. I'm not father confessor. I'm not. I want to share some stuff with him. He's going to share some stuff with me. But I'm going to let him see his truth in the 4th column. If we can't get past this, if you can't see your part, I'm going to help you see it. If you can't see it, we're done. The 5th step is completed. We're out of there. Goodbye. You'll follow? Because I'm not going to let somebody walk away still remaining a victim. We're going to move right on through this. We're going to get to the other side. We are going to set some time for this, and I let it perfectly understood when I'm doing a 5th step what we're expected to do. My job is to show you what is in there if you're not seeing it. If you're seeing it, it's going to go pretty fast, and we're going to laugh just like we're doing right now. You with me? I mean, I'm doing this 5th step, and I'm looking up and says, "Well, this is her, blah, blah, blah." And I'm afraid to look up because I know, "Chris, you keep doing the same thing over and over." And we're laughing. Yeah, that's what it is. And it is. A 4th and a 5th step is hilarious. If you're doing it right, you've asked God into the room, you're going to laugh your butts off. You with us? Because you stop taking yourself so damn serious. It's a pretty cool thing. I'm going to dump a 5th step. We're going to go through all 3 inventories, and then we're going to get quiet. Book says we're going to get quiet for an hour. And I'm going to take the book down. It's a big joke because we put the book on the shelf and then we take it off the shelf. I don't know. Follow the directions exactly. And we're going to sit down and we're going to go over the first proposals. Do I really believe I'm an alcoholic or a drug addict? Do I really believe that God can help me get through this? Have I been thorough? This is the point in time when I'm asking them, point blank. Tell me now the thing that you weren't going to tell me when you walked in the door. Let's get this out. Tell me about the sheep. And skip the details because I'm not interested. And we're going to move on down there. Y'all follow? We're going to go back over this. We're going to get quiet for an hour. Guys, and I'm telling you, I've done 4 steps, 5th steps with guys, and we've sat down and I go to eat and I watch them come in 15 minutes later. I'm going to get them a sandwich. Hey, you're supposed to be at home in quiet for an hour now. I mean it. This is what we do. Follow the instructions. The closer that we can align ourselves with the truth of what this book says, the closer we're going to get the results. Would y'all agree? It's the more interpretation that I do here, the less results I get that aligns with the book. So I'm going to sit for an hour, and then we're going to do the 7th step prayer. 6th step, we're going to look at our character defects. We got that from the 5th step. Y'all understand that? When I do I'm going to write on the back of this. When I do an inventory, I'm going to do a list. I've got this in front of me. And as I'm doing a guy's 5th step, I got this little list, and one's character defects. And as I hear character defects come up in this 4th column, you judgmental bastard, fearful, anxiety, jealousy, all of the stuff that we look at. And I'm going to make a little note here. And then as I hear people that I think you might possibly owe amends to, I'm going to write their name down on this little 8-step list. You'll follow? So this is what the book says, is that from this process, I've got everything I need to finish the work on this 5th step. And I can show you later in the book where it says specifically that. But where?
Here.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry I can't see you.
The sponsor is sitting there with the list, writing down.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Also gives you something to do to keep gives you something to do to keep you awake while you're listening to it. Guys, for some of you that haven't been around for a while, that's the sponsor's prayer. God, please keep me awake during this thing, because I know this is fascinating information we're fixing to cover for you. It's just boring as spit to me. Guys, after you've heard a few 5th steps, there's only so many ways to pokey. There's only so many ways to kill somebody. There's only so many ways. And you're not going to hear anything different. After a while, it's all going to be the same. So that's what I'm doing. I'm listening because that's my job is to try to. That's why I don't want some total stranger to do this. They're just going to look and say, geez, thanks for sharing. And we teach this in treatment a lot in the States. The 5th step is a confession. 5th step is not confession. And I got people that want to argue with me all the time. 5th step is an inventory. Part of this is purging, is getting it out off your chest, finally telling another human being. I understand that. Guys, but if a 5th step, if all this is about confession, the Catholics would be sober. And they're not. A lot of them are not. I mean, guys, we have treated thousands in our hospital, including the priests. This is not about just confession. This is about fact-finding information. And from this, I get a list of the character defects I need to go to God with. Now, guys, this is a deal, and I'm going to flip it to Myers. The 6 and 7 is pretty simple. It's 2 paragraphs. I've been to workshops where they wanted to spend all weekend doing 6 and 7, and it's like, Jesus. I hear people in meetings all the time, I'm working on 6 and 7. I'm working on 6 and 7. It's 2 paragraphs. How much work can there be? When ready, we say something like this: My Creator, I'm now willing that you should have all of me, good and bad. I pray that you now remove from me every single defect of character which stands in the way of my usefulness to you and my fellows. Grant me strength as I go out from here to do your bidding. Amen. You'll follow? I'm asking God to remove these character defects. I'm not removing them. You'll follow? He makes me conscious of them. I'll tell you how that works. For years and years and years, there were people that wouldn't let me speak from the podium because I cussed too much. The message was good. We appreciate the humor, but we don't like the cussing. I'd say the F word every other word. And there was a certain element of our fellowship that really gravitated to that. Oh, you're the guy that cusses. Oh, how could... But it offended a lot of people. So in the process of going to God with this, I said, God, I need to be a little gentler here. Can you help me with this? This is a character defect. Where is this coming from? And God, over a period of time, removed this need to do that as much. You follow? I still cuss. Not as near as much. God's taken me to a different spot. My prayer always with God was that He would make me a gentler person. But you see, we have a fellowship full of gentle people. And some of us need to be horses' butts. And I think that's why I haven't been completely changed. People listen to my stuff 15 years ago and they said, buddy, you have calmed down a lot. You're a lot gentler than you used to be. That surprises some of you. But it's the truth. You listen to some of my old stuff. But God, in His own time, is going to remove the character defects that are standing in the way of our usefulness. You'll follow? God's going to change you, folks. And the change is going to be absolutely miraculous. And you're not going to have to do a lot of practicing around this. What you're going to have to do is suit up and show up and want to be somebody different. I'll say this and quit. I hear it in meetings until I want to puke. Every time we talk about 6 and 7, I'm sure if I don't say it now and embarrass you, one of you will ask the questions. I don't know about 6 and 7. If God removes my character defects, who will I be? Boom! Better. That's... What do you mean, who will you be? I don't know who I will be. Come on, guys. I don't know who you'll be either, but you're going to be better, and next year you're going to be better, and next year you're going to be better, because along the spiritual lines, we're going to try to grow. I come from a sponsorship lineage that does this on a pretty regular basis, guys. At least once or twice a year, I go back through this process myself. My inventories are quite small. I end up doing them on a couple of pieces of legal tablet. I do a 4-column resentment inventory, a 2-column fear inventory, and my little sex inventory has gotten kind of pathetic since I got married. When I consider the flirting and stuff that goes involved, there's maybe a couple of more in there. But other than that, and I dump it with one of the guys I sponsor. You with me? Not my sponsor. He's heard it. I do it with a couple of guys that I sponsor. I let them know who we share, mutual. And then we move on down the road. You'll follow? And I'm touched and I'm blessed and I grow from every time I do that experience. And some of you cats, you've been in this room for 20 years and you've done one 4-step and you wonder why you can't sleep at night. You wonder why your conscience is driving you crazy and you're a little irritable, restless, and discontent. Buddy, I'm encouraging you. Do another 4-step. Stop trying to live off a spiritual experience you had 20 years ago. Let's bring this thing current. I'm excited about the spiritual experience I had in Monte Carlo yesterday. Pretty amazing place. You'll follow? That's what we're after. How about you? You got something to add to that? Hey, you guys. All I'm going to do real quick, we're going to take a break here in just a minute. I just want to tie up some loose ends. Getting more into the semantic end of the deal like this, just because we're talking about sponsorship. Let me ask you this fast question. When you were sitting in that meeting and you shared and some little guy was giving you the eyeball and you knew he was going to come over and ask you, and what was the one thing that you thought of first? When somebody says, and starting to ask me if I will sponsor them, for many, many years, the very first thing my head would do is draw a direct line to the 5th step. You see what I'm saying? I'm going, oh no, here's 8 hours of pain and suffering listening to this guy go through this thing, and it's just going to be a bloodbath, and it's just going to be... And we paint this mental picture of something that is horrendous. Well, so what's of interest is that finally it was brought to my attention that... if you look in the beginning of this thing, it says, next we launched out on a course of vigorous action. So we're going to gather Andy up, our little busted drunk du jour, and we're going to gather him up, and we're going to get him immediately from his 3rd step into his 4-step inventory process so that we can get him clear of this thing. But look at the way Bill writes this thing. They talk about this thing, and how do they refer to it? As a fact-finding commercial inventory. Now look, if we got any shopkeepers in here or anybody that's ever had to do a commercial inventory, I mean, it's a commercial inventory. It's an inventory. What we're doing is we're counting things. We're looking at these things. I got a bunch of batteries that are sitting in the back of the shop, and they're all dead. In an inventory, I would look at those batteries, and I'd go, they're all dead. You see, there's nothing good there to sell. And so, as a shopkeeper, what would I do? I'd throw the bastards away. I got to get rid of them. They're unsaleable. They're no good. And this is what we're trying to get. We're trying to get to a point to where we can see what's worth saving and what's we need to get rid of. This inventory is about resolution of dispute, resolution of problems that have been built there. Let me ask you this question. It'll give us a place to start this. Has there ever been a time in your life when you realized that you were wrong about something? Anything. You did. I know there's some saints down here. I had you pegged as a saint right off the bat. It's like we thought ill of somebody, and then we realized finally that they didn't do what we thought they did, and we had been judging them wrong all these years and stuff. And we were just flat wrong about that situation. Well, stick with me a minute then. If we do that, can we draw the parallel there that perhaps there are other things in our life which we are wrong about too, which we just have not seen? See, it's possible. In my own arrogance, I want to say I'm never wrong. I'm never wrong. But if I can be wrong about one thing, I can also be wrong about other things. And so what this inventory begins to do is clarify some of the areas where I could be wrong about things in general, about the way my life has been. It's the reason why Bill Wilson talks so thoroughly about this selfishness and self-centered just previous to this stuff. It's like he's trying to kind of raw us up a little bit. He's trying to get us sensitized to what we're getting ready to look at in the inventory process. Where have I been selfish and self-centered? It's a fairly amazing deal, but let's look back at this deal. What Chris was talking about this not being a confessional. There may be some confession involved to it, but that's not the basic premise. They always take it back to the inventory on this stuff. Now, here's the way our inventories seem to work. As a general out there in AA land, this is the way they work. Let's pretend I'm a store clerk and I got a bunch of milk that's gone sour in the back of in the shop. In this inventory, the way I was taught originally, the way I want to do this is I want to tell you why the milk got sour. Well, see, we're supposed to get milk deliveries on Thursday, but we didn't get milk deliveries on Thursday. We got them on Saturday morning. Now the coolers, this is the real problem on this thing. The coolers, they're not keeping the milk as cool as it needs to be, you see. Now, does all this sound stupid to you? It sounds just as stupid while you try to tell me why you got in trouble with the law. I don't give a rat's rear why you got in trouble with the law. It has nothing to do with the inventory. You see what I'm saying? I'm not making light of the situation. It's just not important to the story. I don't care why you were driving down the road and that you had just come to visit your mom. This is why the inventories become so painful to listen to. This is why we don't want to sit down and give time to people, because we're too busy letting them ramble about things that are not important. You see what I'm saying? It's like I need to get to know you, but I don't need all the detail about this stuff because it just clutters the stuff up. You want to know what I've figured out over the years the hard way? Is that if we let a man or a woman in an inventory ramble on about his story, about the drama that goes with what we're trying to get at, usually what he's doing is just spending valuable time trying to justify his bad behavior. Almost every time. Not always, but almost every time. I'm just trying to justify it. So the inventory would be more like this. Milk, that's column 1. Sour. That's it. I don't need to know why the milk was sour. I just need to know that it was sour. Because on over in the other part of the inventory, we're going to learn that this is unsaleable goods. We can't use this anymore, so we have to get rid of this stuff. And that's the reason why my inventories went from 8 hours to 2 hours. Guys, I've listened to hundreds of fifth steps, hundreds of them over the years, and none of them took longer than 2 hours. They shouldn't. Let me clarify something here real quick. This is something you will simply learn out of your own self-preservation. If you're sponsoring 20 women, you don't have time to spend 8 hours listening to a bunch of stuff. You don't. Pretty soon your bullshit meter gets really alerted, and you just start really focusing on this kind of stuff. And you go, no, sweetheart, I don't need to know all that. Tell me about this right here. I don't need to know that. That's just what happened with him then. Perfect. We're set now. You see what I'm saying? I'm getting it crystallized down to the bare bones of the inventory, which is what we were trying to do. On the 4th column, it says, we resolutely looked at our own mistakes, putting out of our mind the wrongs others had done. You see, and it goes on down there. Twice in one paragraph, it says that we look at our own stuff. We're not looking at what they did. We're just simply looking at the mistakes that we made. And when you were talking a minute ago about this stuff, or somebody over here a minute ago, sometimes just bad stuff does happen to us. It does. It just does. And I'm sorry that it does. It's possible that something happened to you that you didn't play a part in. But how we deal with it after that is the stuff that Chris was trying to explain. It's crazy. It's crazy stuff. We were doing a deal one night. I'll tell you real quick. We were doing this deal one night, and I was sharing this conference, and we used to play this game with all the newcomers. It was a men's conference, and as a joke, I bought this little dress, this little tutu-looking thing, and I was talking to these guys at this meeting that one lucky newcomer was going to get to wear this tonight for this dance. It's an all-men's deal, There was no dance, and there was no like this, but everybody was laughing. Everybody was just kind of... Well, guys, afterwards, this guy came up to me. He's like 80 years old, and he comes up to me, and he's really angry. I can't begin to describe how angry this man was. And he pulled me back behind a curtain like this, behind the deal, and he told me that he was an incest survivor and that I had offended him. And I said, buddy, I am so sorry. Never even dawned on me. Pardon me for being so crass. It'll never happen again, I promise you. And I thought we were done with it. But we weren't done with it. As I walked out, he grabbed me by the shirt and pulled me back in, and he wanted to ream me some more. And then some more. And finally I said, enough. Enough. So I got up on the podium and I apologized to everybody for my sense of humor that had gone awry. And I took as much responsibility for the action that I took. The next morning I got up in front of this deal and said it again, that I apologized for anybody that I might have offended by this joke that had been running for 20 years in this conference. There was always this alluded thing to this. But anyway, but it still wasn't enough. And afterwards he came up and I said, I'm done. I'm done talking about this. I cannot help what I said. Sorry. Well, the next day, I'm back in Dallas and I get an email from his therapist. And his therapist is hugely offended. And they're talking lawsuit. I mean, it got that convoluted like this, and I'm going, holy shit, what did I do? Anyway, finally I'd had a crawl full of it, and I said, look, let me call you back in a minute. And I sat there and I prayed about this stuff, and I called this guy back, and I said, I called the therapist back, and I said, I guess, if this guy's this unstable, why do you even let him out? I don't understand what's going on this thing. I didn't do this with any malice. And I said, but what irritates me, what really bothers me, is that you would allow him to stay in this kind of pain for all of these years. I said, when did this happen? When he was 6. So what is that, 74 years that he's been carrying this stuff? Oh, come on. I'm not making light of it, and my heart bleeds for the guy. I'm sorry that kind of crap happens. But trying to carry that stuff, what my head did finally, it went to the hundreds and hundreds of men who had been molested that this guy could have helped by his understanding, his gut reaction to what was going on. He knew and understood what it was like nobody else in the room, and why he couldn't get clear of it. I would have loved to have, absolutely loved. And I even offered, I said, please, if you'll let me work some inventory with this guy, we'll get past our resentment of each other, and we'll also be able to get him on down the road so he can go help somebody. And that never materialized. But it's this deal, guys, this inventory is so hugely powerful in getting us past the drama, getting us past all the things that seem to define our life. It's like we are who we are, and with all the drama and the warts and all the other kind of stuff. And some of us live with huge amounts of emotional pain over the years. I want to weep sometimes when I see what we carry as individuals when we're listening to these inventories. It's just a please keep these things simple. Milk, sour. Let's go on. Let's don't get into a bunch of stuff. And those inventories will get shorter, and then instead of pushing them away, you'll be embracing them. Another quick story. Some of you guys that Chris was talking about this. Some of us tend to do an inventory and then hang on to that inventory forever and ever and ever, and it sort of sustains us for many years. And I was like that. We were in Alaska one time doing a talk, and we had like a 10-hour layover sitting in the airport coming back. It was like mind-numbing. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning. It's still sunny outside like this, and we've talked all we can talk. And I'm just kind of sitting here looking straight ahead like this, and I'm kind of unraveling. And Chris asked me some simple question. I don't remember what it was, but it was just. And I looked at him and I went, you know what, that mother. And I'm just like, I don't know where it came from, but I'm just going nuts. And Chris goes, whoa, time out. Where's this coming from? I said, screw you. I don't know where it's coming from. And I'm sitting there like this. And he didn't say another word. He's just looking straight ahead, and I'm looking straight ahead. Time goes on, and I go. Finally, Chris goes, when's the last time you did an inventory? And I says, none of your damn business. And I'm looking straight ahead, and he goes, just wondering, you might ought to consider that. And he got up and he walked away. And I went, So I picked up a little piece of paper, folded it, and started writing. And I started writing, and I started writing, and I just can't. Chris comes back over in a little bit, and I'm writing, and he says something, and I said, I'm in the middle of an inventory, leave me alone. And I finally finish this thing, and I look at it, and I cannot believe what's on this piece of paper. I cannot believe the bile I just dumped on this piece of paper. And I'm thinking, what happened to the spiritual giant part? What happened to the, I'm a fruitcake in black and white right here. A fruitcake. There's nobody else in the airport. I'm looking at Chris. I'm saying, you want to listen to this? He says, I can hardly wait. One, and I go through the thing. Two, and we just go through the whole thing, and we're going through the deal. Chris is, I'm seeing my stuff, and as I'm seeing it, and as I'm doing it, I look at Chris, and it's all just come. I mean, the whole process. My writing took 30 minutes. Sharing it with him took less than 10. We got less than an hour involved in the whole process. So we get done, and I said, that's it. Folded it up, stuck it in my briefcase. I'm looking straight ahead. He's looking straight ahead. I'm not saying anything. I got to go to the can. And I get up, and I walk to the bathroom. And guys, I'm telling you, it was like somebody had filled me with helium. I felt like I was 20 pounds lighter, if you can believe that. I cannot begin to tell you how much relief I felt by getting clear of the deception that I had sold myself. It's like I start with a clear slate at an inventory, and then day by day by day, I try desperately to keep the slate clean. 10th step and 11th step does a great job of that kind of stuff. But the sunlight of the Spirit is there, and if I'm not diligent, if I'm not paying attention, what scares me is my own self-deception, my own little piece of thing telling me that I'm okay. And slowly but surely, the first thing that creeps in is a little piece of defiance, and then a little piece of pride, a little piece that builds into a little piece of arrogance, and a little more defiance. I don't have to do that. That's for them to do. I don't have to do this way. Really? And pretty soon, I've got this patina between me and the sunlight of the Spirit, and I am cut off. And I'm feeling less and less connected and wondering why I'm so grindy with everybody. Why is it I can't have a conversation with my wife without eating her ass? Why can't I do that? You see? Why is it that everybody that comes into work scares me because they're going to ask me to do something I don't want to do? Why is that? Why is that? My life is consumed with fear again. I've got all this crap going on. All of this and I wonder. The greatest way I've ever been shown to get clear of it was right there in front of me. But out of my own arrogance, I say, I did it before. I'm clear of this. I don't need to go back and visit that. Now, what part of ego and arrogance would tell me that? See, it happens. It's the most subtle, easy thing to do. And as I cleared that thing away in that day, and I'm sitting there, standing in that bathroom, looking in the mirror, smiling at myself like some goony guy. I mean, if somebody else had walked in that bathroom and seen me there like this, looking in that mirror, smiling at myself, they'd have thought, oh, who else is in here with you, brother? He's just like, whoo, man. But it was an amazing thing. And I was a convert. I just simply believe that it doesn't hurt. If there's no inventory needs to be done, then it's fine. It'll only take you 5 minutes to recognize that. But you could just as easily find out that once again you've sold yourself a bill of goods about something that is causing anguish and pain in your own life. Others didn't cause it, you did. It's just crazy. It's just crazy. One quick thing about fear, and then we'll go take us a little fast smoke break. Fears always seem to come disguised as two things. Now, you guys listen up. At its basis is always selfishness. But they talk about a reliance on self and how it failed us. But ask yourself this question. Is every fear that you've ever had, doesn't it come in two kinds? I'm either afraid that I'm going to lose what I already have, or I'm afraid I'm not going to get what I think I want. Those two things. I'm afraid I'm not going to get what I want, or I'm afraid I'm going to lose something I already have. And they always seem to stack up in that particular category. And when we can recognize them as that and see them for what they really are, doesn't it always come down to self-reliance failed us? If God is everything or is He nothing, that it talks about on page 52 or 53, whatever it is, God either is or He isn't. And if God is everything, that was what was shown to me, if God is everything, then why should I be afraid that I'm not going to get what I need?
You see? Or that I'm going to lose something that I already have. Why should I be afraid of any of that? And if you could ever make the connection of that stuff and understand that my walk is a dependence on this God that I've come to understand, however ineffectively, then I can be free of the fear. I don't know about you guys, but most of us live in lives that are consumed by fear. Consumed by the things that we think we're not going to get or the things that we're afraid of losing. Consumed. Girls, how about your relationships? Men, how about those relationships? You see? How about those jobs? You see? How many decisions are based just on those two things alone? How many decisions have you made based on those two things? Fear I'm going to lose my job or fear I'm going to lose my girl, that later puts you in a position to be hurt. It happens lots, guys. Lots. One quick thing about this 6 and 7, and then we can start fresh on this amends deal when we come back to the deal. One of the things that I want to encourage you to look at real quickly is there'll be character defects that you've illuminated in your inventory: selfishness, self-centeredness, fear, dishonesty. These are things that are illuminated in great detail in the inventory. But I want you to also pay attention to the things that I always ignored. Things like defiance, things like pride, bigotry. These are all things that play into the deal that downrange are the things that kick our butt. It's this thing. You ever say, I'm not prideful. Oh, no. Well, let me ask you a question. The next time you're pulling into a gas station and somebody pulls in front of you, how do you react? You see? Do you think you own that gas station? Is your head telling you, by God, that's my pump right there. I'll show you a thing. Do we get all bowed up like this? You see? It's not that people push our buttons that disturbs me. It's that we have buttons to push that disturb me. That I could be 20 years in a spiritual path and still have buttons which people can push that affect me so dramatically. You see? You bet pride plays into a big part of that. You bet defiance plays a big part. And part of this thing and illuminating this thing and having this process work the way it is that we get to see some of that stuff. And if we can see it, if we can identify it, then we can effectively change it. It's pretty cool stuff. Let's go smoke a fast one and then we'll come back and finish this little deal up.
Just before we break, we're going to do a pass the basket, please, or the bag, sack. Thank you. 7 tradition. Thanks, folks.
My name's Chris Raymer, grateful recovered alcoholic. We're going to kind of tie up some loose ends like we do every time we get back together, and then I'm going to talk about some 8 and 9 stuff real quick. Myers is going to do 10 and 11. What we'll end up doing is probably go take a real quick pee break, last one of the day, and then we're going to come back for about 30 minutes. And I want to talk about this 12-step business. We want to talk about working with others because, guys, as far as I'm concerned, that's the gravy. That's where this whole thing is leading us to, this thing about working with others. It's the piece that everybody seems to want to kind of put on the back burner some way, maybe downstream we can do that. And what happens is we really got to get serious about it now. So, and any of the questions that y'all want to ask at that time, we'd be more than glad to answer. I was talking to someone earlier, and I immediately forget who, but we were talking about this 5th step business. I know the book is quite clear that it's perfectly okay for us to do this with a priest, our 5th step, and a person of clergyman, somebody that we trust that's out of the program. You're more than welcome to do that. I do a thing called multiple 5th steps, and I don't have a problem doing one with this person and that person in the same 5th step. It's just no problem. The problem I have with doing it with people that don't understand what the program is about is they won't follow through with the rest of it. And that's why I'm saying a piece of the 5th step is confession, guys. I came into this fellowship with a lot of secrets and a lot of stuff I was mortally embarrassed about, stuff that I had done, which really compared to most of y'all is nothing, but truly. But still for me it was, coming from my standpoint, it was pretty traumatic stuff. And this confession piece, this just letting another human being kind of know for the first time, it's our secrets that kill us. They'll follow. And so being able to get even with that is a good thing. But the process doesn't stop there. We have a tendency in AA to want to compartmentalize everything. We've kind of talked about it here. We do 1st step, and we do 2nd step, and we do 3rd step. We need to understand that it's all flows. It's all together. Having this inventory doesn't do much good unless I do something with it. And the inventory has showed me the character defects to get rid of. I'm going to take care of that in a prayer an hour after I do this work. And then I'm going to make an 8-step list, and I need to start making amends to somebody. My problem with doing it with a priest is says, they go and sin no more. They don't say anything about cleaning up your crap from the past. And that's the stuff that's holding us back. Great quote. And I don't know who said it, but it's a great quote. It says, "It's not making the mistake that kills me. It's defending it that does the damage." Did you get it? It's not the mistake. Guys, because, buddies, we're all human. We're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to say something stupid. It's defending it and not cleaning it up that causes all the problem. I mean, that's, we learned to ski on a little lake out in front of where I currently live, as a matter of fact. And who knew that 30 years later I would live in this nice little rock house out on Ingram Lake. Ingram Lake is a lake. It's about the size of, this auditorium. And not much bigger, I'm telling you. You learn to ski really fast because all you do is turn corners, and it's like there's no straightaways on it. But the guy that was teaching us Joe Herring, the guy that was teaching us how to ski, he was one of the deals. He says, "Chris, but if you start to fall, let go." And of course, my head says, because I'm so light, and I'm going to get back up, I'm going to lose my balance. If I just hang on, I can pop back up, and then I won't have to be embarrassed about having And so I would lose my balance, and I would hang on, and I would end up, the next taste was the lake bottom in my mouth as I'm being dredged along the bottom, And I come back up with vines and stuff hung in my face, my ear like this, and he said, Chris, what part of let go aren't you getting here? But that's what I did with my life for 20 years, 18, 19 years of drinking and drugging. That's what I did with my life. I hung on to everything. And the damage that I did and the mistakes I made, if you found it out, I was going to either not have anything to do with you, follow? Because I didn't want you to throw it back up in my face, and I certainly wasn't going to go make amends. In AA today, what we have is we have too many people that have these little things called unsigned death pacts. And some of you have heard me talk about it. And I'm going to go to an AA group, and I'm going to make a deal with you. You're not going to hold me accountable, and I'm not going to hold you accountable. And we're going to be the best friends. It's going to be the bomb. And you don't make amends, and I'm not going to say anything to you about it. And you with us? We're just let bygones be bygones. The problem is that we do everybody around us a disservice when we allow this to happen. What I didn't understand when I got to this fellowship, and for those 7 years I was in and out, is what I didn't understand is this old adage of what goes around comes around. And the guys, you can laugh about that if you want. Roll your eyes and that's so much bullshit. It's been proven to me to be the truth. And I put out some bad stuff over here. I need to clean it up because it's going to come back around and get me over here. And some of us sitting in this room right now are having financial problems, and you still owe financial amends. And you don't see the connection. There's a connection. Some of us in this room are having relationship problems, and we haven't cleaned up the relationship problems from the past, and we don't see the connection. And there is a huge connection, buddies. The big book spends 9 pages explaining how to do just about every amend that there's possible to make. Financial amends, personal amends, and it's like, folks, not an option. We sit down with our sponsor, we've got the 8-step list, and we go over this with this. Listen, I'm not going to stir up a hornet's nest and make some amends that are going to perhaps hurt somebody else. But if it's going to cause me some harm, I've still got to go make those amends. Make sense? I want to go make amends. The biggest trip we see in a fellowship is I want to go win the lottery, get $1 million, and then go write everybody a big fat check that I owe money to. But sometimes that's not possible. It certainly wasn't for me because I owed everybody. What I needed to do was go make some from what the book talks about, a first approach. I need to go clear it up with the guy first. Call the credit card companies that I owe the money to. Talk to the boss that I stole the money from. And I said, listen, this is what I did. I owe you about $600, I think. I'm willing to pay this off. What I can do is pay you $20 a month until we get this thing paid off. Would that be satisfactory to you? And he may say, no. So be it. Work your best deal. You follow? He may say yes. Then you make the $20 payment and you get it paid off. But the bottom line is, guys, every amend that I make, I got a little 4x5 business card, a little index card, and I put the name, the person, and the phone number, and all this nonsense that are going to help me get connected to that person. And I know exactly what I'm making amends to him for. I don't ever want to be in a situation where I go up to this guy that I owe amends to and I say, well, I just owe you an amends because I was a kind of a jerk. Excuse me? I want to be very specific about what I'm making amends to him. You with us? Because that's the idea. That's why people put it off. He's not ready to make amends, because it's too. No, listen. Cleaning up the mess is different than just saying I'm the cause of every problem on earth. That's ridiculous. I know I made some mistakes in this deal. You made some mistakes in the deal. All I'm here to try to do is clean off my side of the street. You'll follow? So I'm going to get as explicit as I can in this 8-step list that I'm making about what I owe the money for and why I owe it and what the amend is about. You'll follow? I'm not going to stir up a bunch of crap that I can't fix. That's the nature of the beast. And I don't let anybody off the hook. I mean, everybody gets to do it. Some of you are going to have lots of amends. Some of you are going to have not too many amends. But the ones that are going to get the real freedom. My sponsor says this. He said, Chris, how free do you want to be? In AA, we've got this party line BS as, well, if you're not drinking today, you're having a successful day. That's just not my experience. If I'm not drinking today, I got a chance of having a really good day. But if I owe everybody on earth, and there's towns I can't even go into because I've pissed off so many people, I'm not having a very good life here. You follow? How free do you want to be? I want to be able to come and go as I please. Years ago, some cats asked me to go back to Iceland, and I couldn't because I was pre-booked. I had some other stuff to do, and I turned another guy on. I said, "Would you like to go to Iceland?" And this guy was weepy. He was so excited about his chance to go to Iceland. The cat had been sober 30 years. You follow? Got down to the old passport company and found out that there was a little chicken shit legal. There was some money he owed, a small little piece of $200 ticket that he hadn't paid 30 years before that was still on the records, and he couldn't get a passport because of that. His chance to go to Iceland were squashed because he simply thought that he didn't need to go clean this mess up. You'll follow? And again, and it's not just the direct thing over here, it's what's coming back over here that counts. The universe, the old expression, you push at the universe, it pushes back. And so some of us in this room wonder why we're not filled with a little excitement and a little passion. It's because we haven't done the rest of the work and cleaned up our mess. The joke in my lineage is my grandmother doesn't want to hear that I'm sorry. She wants to get her VCR back. But I've sat in workshops and listened to people say, well, making amends is just about saying I'm sorry. It's not. Guys, who in the world in our families doesn't know that? We said it, I'm sorry 1,000 times. They want to see a change. They want to see a behavior. I'm going to be a better friend to you. I said this and I mean I'm going to be a better friend to you. And then I'm going to show you that I can be a better friend. It's not just about saying I'm sorry. Make sense? That's what we do. It's just, it's you make the first approach, you'd be surprised what happens as a result of that. And you get on downstream with it, the money that you need will come. You want to have it all figured out. Well, how am I going to possibly make this amend? You become willing to make the amend, and I guarantee you God will show you how to make the amend. And by doing that, you're going to clean the universe up, and the stuff's going to start taking place. I've had some amends that went bad. Buddy, here's how you can make the amend to me. Go away. Oh, that's a little rough. Okay, I can do that. Okay, but what happened 2 years later? The lady calls on the phone. There was a guy. He said, "Are you still sober?" I said, "Buddy, is that you?" And he said, "Yeah. Don't make a big deal out of it. Answer my question. Are you still sober?" "Absolutely." "Well, I've got this son," and he starts to cry. You follow? I couldn't make the amend 2 years ago. He didn't even want me in his office. But now I'm able to do it. You follow? I was able to take care of this deal. And guys, once the amend's made, I tear up the little card and I move on to the next one. And I've still got some cats. In 20 years, I've still got a couple that I haven't been able to make. But most of these, I have been able to make. And all of us can tell stories about this. But you've got to put yourself in a situation where you really want to make these amends, and you've got to be willing to do it. And I got to tell you, there's nothing like the freedom of being able to walk into a town or a room and being able to look everybody in the eye. I've always been in a spot where I had to look down at you or up at you. I've never just been able to look straight at you. Y'all understand what I'm talking about? I'm always either better than you or worse than you. And you make the amends process from this, and all of a sudden what takes place is you just become a man among men. And you're just on even playing field with everybody. And it's the most wonderful feeling in the world. And what takes place is it opens up your whole life. I got to say this and I'll stop. And part of it's just repeating myself. A lot of you guys think that this is just about not drinking, and it's just not. It's just not. You get this stuff cleared up and watch and see what starts to take place in your life. And all of a sudden the excitement starts to come back. A lot of us can't sleep in this room because of the guilt around some of these amends that we haven't made. It's just that simple. There's always a way to clear it up. If any of you guys ever, I got business cards up that we do, we pass out. This is the same stuff, guys. If you want to call us and talk to about this, I don't make any amends now. At 20 years sober, I don't make an amend unless I talk to my sponsor or somebody that I trust in the fellowship to run it by them to make sure my motives are good. You follow? Because I don't want to have to make an amend and then turn around and have to make it again because I screwed it up so bad. My head sometimes tells me to go do things that I don't want to do. Make sense? Here's one that I get all the time. When I first met you, Chris Raymer, I didn't like you. In fact, I hated your guts. Whoa, what are you doing here? Well, I'm trying to make amends to you. You haven't. And you aren't. Y'all understand? Why would you, I didn't know that you were pissed before. I thought we were okay. You'll follow? You could have changed. You could have made some living amends in that regard and just not badmouth me all over. Now I've got to eat your ass. Now I do have a resentment. And I want you to go back to everybody that you took my inventory with and clean it up. You follow? But just willy-nilly because I want to feel better, I want to go make amends to you. That's not an amends. You've done more harm than good there. And you've hurt my feelings in the process. Shame on you. I hope you die. No. That's all I got. Ain't nothing.
We're a spiritual bunch, aren't we?
I'd give $1,000 to hear the cell phone calls tonight. You won't believe what he said. Well, man. One of the things in this amends process that was quickly apparent. I think deep down inside, every one of us has this idea that when we make these amends, we do it so we feel better, and we do as a manifestation of the amends that we make. A lot of times, we do feel better about the deal. Top of page 77 in the literature, there's a couple lines there that puts this thing into perspective. It says, at the moment, we're trying to put our lives in order. Period. But this is not an end in itself. Our real purpose is to fit ourselves to be of maximum service to God and the people about us. See, if my job is to carry a message of recovery to the drunk that's still out there suffering, then what I need to do is make sure that me and God are okay with each other. And I can't be okay with God if I still got a bunch of amends that I'm not making out of my own defiance around not making the amends. I will not make the amends. Sometimes I just stomp my foot and act like a little kid and I just say, I'm just not going to do it. And you can do that for a while. But it's a funny thing. Everything that we do in AA has kind of a cause and effect kind of thing. There's always manifestations of something that happens. If I'm spiritually on a path doing what I'm supposed to do, there are manifestations over here that exemplify that. You can see it. It's tangible in your life, in the way you treat your family, in the way you treat your coworkers and friends and other people in AA. It's there. When things start getting grindy, when things start getting goofy, a lot of times we need to look at those things. Are there amends that I haven't made? Are there things, kindnesses that I withheld? Things that I could have done that I didn't do? One thing that's, I think, important for all of us to remember, and for a long time, how many of you gals and guys did this? Sitting in a meeting, your very first meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, if they had these little lampshade things hanging on the wall, the very first time that you saw those things, maybe you were new in the fellowship, and you looked at the thing and you did, well, okay, I could do that. Well, yeah, I could do that. And then you get down to this amends type thing and you go, no freaking way, it ain't happening. I'm not going to, you see, coming from a place of self, I'm always going to need to be right. And I'm never going to... That is the concept of making an amends when I think that the world has done me wrong is the most bizarre piece of information that I ever tried to digest. It's just like, you guys are nuts. Forget it. It ain't going to happen. And then you go through and you clear up some past and you clear up the inventory and you begin to see that you were a willing participant in a lot of this drama, that there is a way to get clear of it. And now this really miraculous thing is getting ready to happen. You've prayed about this. You've perhaps talked to your sponsor about this so you can get some clarity on what it is that you need to do. And then you walk in and we think, well, this is just going to be me and this guy and we're going to hash this thing out again. And that's not it at all. It's so far from the truth, it's not even funny. What's going to happen is that you and the man that you're going to go make the amends to and a loving God are standing in one place. And it's like, how many of you guys that have been around for a while ever did an amends and then walked out feeling like you'd been pimp slapped? You just went like, what happened in there? It's just like I have a preconceived idea. I'm going to say this, then she's going to tell me this, and then I'm going to say this, and then and maybe I'll get out of it with my genitals, maybe I won't. I don't know. We're going to see. But then you go in and you do it, and you do it. Instead of trying to justify your behavior, you just said, look, I know you want to hit me. I want to tell you this. I treated you shabbily. You deserved so much more than I gave you credit for. So much more. Could you ever forgive me for what I did? Please. And then I'm owning my part of this deal, you see? And it's an amazing thing to watch somebody that you've hated and resented, that beast from hell, is now sitting there weeping in front of you. And the thing that we seem to forget is that this gives them a chance to heal too. We don't often remember how much damage that we caused from our stuff, but how much pain they may be in trying to hold the same stuff. You see? And they don't have a program to follow. They don't know how they're ever going to get extricated from this drama that you caused. Maybe they did have a little piece to play in it. But the point is that now you're in a situation where you're healing and they're healing, and the results of that put you in a position where you can be of maximum service to God and the people about Him. And yes, you can walk taller. And yes, you can look the world in the eye. And yes, you can begin to understand what it's like to have sanity return so that you can live a life that you never dreamed you could live. This is fairly powerful stuff. Fairly mystical, I might add, from somebody looking at it from the outside. It doesn't make much sense from an intellectual standpoint. A lot of this doesn't make sense. But the reality of it is that it allows us to live a life we never dreamed we could live. Does it take some courage? Yeah, it does. It does. And that's the reason why I like the idea of nice, strong sponsors. Listen, you little wimp, get out there and do it. I want somebody standing behind me that's going to make me do the things that I need to do. Because left on my own devices, remember, I'm the easier, softer way kind of guy. I'll always take the easier, softer way. Well, she hurt me as much as I hurt her. Screw her. I don't need to make that amends. You see? Time out. Let's talk about 10 and 11 for just a minute. We've got a couple of seconds here, and I want to. In theory, the way the literature was originally set up, in theory, we should have been able to do an inventory, and then we should have been able to keep most everything straightened out in 10, 11, and 12. We should have. It doesn't often. And I used to be a card-carrying member of that whole deal. I believe that was the way it worked. These days, I tend to think I'd like the idea of going back and revisiting inventory every once in a while to take a look at this thing for a number of reasons. But the biggest one is that I found that when I did it, it worked. You see, but this process of keeping stuff cleared out, I want to illuminate a couple of things, and we're not going to dwell on it a whole lot. But in step 10. There was a couple of things that I wanted to. These are just simply directives. When we study the book, the very first thing that we understand is that they gave us specific directions for specific steps. They weren't talking in vagaries. So what they did is they said the thought brings us to step 10, which suggests we continue to take personal inventory and continue to set right any new mistakes as we go along. And then it says, we vigorously commence this way of living as we cleaned up the past. It's the only place in the literature where they gave us the go-ahead to work a step out of order. We're going to be doing 10 and 11 and 12 while we're doing the amends process. Because the juju comes from that, guys. If you've ever done it the other way, there are people that I have talked to that say, you have to make all of your amends before you do 10, 11, and 12. And I've never understood that. The literature is fairly clear that this, but the real power of doing the work comes from this work that we're doing in 10 and 11. You'll begin to get really plugged in, and you'll find yourself doing amends that you never dreamed you would make. It's pretty important stuff. I said we've entered the world of the Spirit. Our next function is to grow in understanding and effectiveness. This is not an overnight matter. It should continue for our lifetime. It's simply a part of what we do. Continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. The inventory stuff we just uncovered, we ought to be really sensitive to them by now. And then when these crop up, they give us 4 specific things to do. We ask God at once to remove them. We discuss them with someone immediately. We make amends quickly if we've harmed anyone. And then we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we can help. There are 4 specific things that we're supposed to do when we hack somebody off. When we step on somebody, this is what we're supposed to do. Now, the old Myers, early in this deal, I just say, well, I'm going to make a judgment call on this. It's no big thing. I think I'll just forget it. I didn't hurt him bad enough he's not going to retaliate or anything, so we'll just blow it off. Check. There's one more little piece of patina between me and God. And I'll just go on down the road. And to the extent that my judgmental nature gets into this deal, that's the extent that it just keeps. And pretty soon it's not bright. It's not even visible. You see what I'm saying? This is what we're trying to avoid. And so this 10-step process, Clifford told me one time, this old coot that was sponsoring me, that still sponsors me, he says, I'd known him for like 2 years, and he goes, Myers, let me ask you something. You don't ever offend anybody? You don't ever step on anybody? And I went, well, I guess I do. Huh. You don't ever call me about that stuff. I'm supposed to call you? You see, it's almost embarrassing to tell you about this stuff, but I didn't know this stuff was in here like this. I didn't realize that it laid it out that way. And he said, yeah, why don't you go read page 84 and then call me tomorrow and we'll talk about it. And I did just that. And I tell you guys, I was so embarrassed as I began to read this. I realized that they had given me the tools to keep all this stuff clear, but out of my own arrogance, I decided that I didn't need to do it. And so I just ignored it. Once again, my little piece of I'll decide, damn it, what I'm going to do and what I'm not going to do, because I do know best, right? I am the center of my universe, right? And it's ridiculous. And so, rather than following a clear-cut set of directions, I've now started customizing the stuff again, and I get what I got. Which is a life full of turmoil again. So the 10-step deal is kind of like this. I have words with somebody at work. I'm on like a customer. And I go, yeah, I know it. I hope yours falls off too. And I set the phone down. It's kind of like that. And I just hold the phone. You see, because I know exactly what I need to do. I realize that I've offended this person. I realize that I'm simply scared because I've committed to doing too much again. And I've retaliated and I've said unkind words to this person. So I just hold on to the phone until I cool off. Because see, if I let go of the phone, in my situation, if I let go of the phone, I'll go do something else. And before too long, I've justified not calling this woman back. I've justified it. And because I know where my head goes. So I just hold it, however long it takes, you see. And then when I get a grip on this thing, I ask God to help me. And then I call Clifford. And then I tell him what I did. I said, I can't believe it. I offended another customer. I said what I wasn't supposed to say. And he goes, how bad was it? I said, it's pretty bad. And he said, go fix it. I said, okay. And I hang up the phone. And I just hold it for a minute. I take a deep breath. And see, my wife, who was also my business partner, works right across from me. Our desk is one big desk. And she sits just right across the deal. It's not quite, we can't quite punch each other. It's right. We're just out of luck. If we had those soccer boppers, we could actually hit each other. But it's just like she's right there. And she just looks up and grins at me. She knows exactly what's going on. She said, you pissed somebody else off, didn't you? Yes, I did. And see, and she knows. And then I pick up the phone and I call him back. I go, no, don't hang up. Don't hang up. Listen, I'm sorry. I know I was offensive. I know I said these unkind things. You didn't deserve any of it. I'm just, once again, bit off more than I can chew. Please forgive me. And she goes, fine, great, thanks. Can we talk about the job now? Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about the job. And I'm back to business. But we're okay, you see. So when we get done with this thing and I hang up and everything is okay, then I get to sit there and go, okay, now this is a piece of drama that I didn't have to clean up later. I didn't have to I didn't have to stew about it night after night after night for 5 years. I didn't have to let it damage my relationship with God and the people about me. I could deal with it right there. And that's where the power of this 10-step work, if you'll start practicing it. I sponsor over the years hundreds of men. 10% of them practice 10-step work. 10%. The rest of them, they're on their own. And then when they call me all tangled up in it, when they call me all just beat to crap again, I always ask them what Cliff Bishop asked me. You don't ever step on anybody? Well, you know I do. Well, how come you don't ever call me? You see, this is how I know. But the cool part about this stuff is, guys, this is the kind of stuff from on a sponsorship deal, like with our little buddy Andy back there, who has now gotten through the work and he's done the inventory and he's made his amends type stuff. And this little busted up soul is growing by leaps and bounds. And this is how we tell if Andy's on track, because it manifests itself in what he does in 10, 11, and 12. You're going to see amazing things as a result of doing what he's doing. This deal of just being sober is not enough for Andy, and he knows that. It's the coolest. Step 11 stuff, real quickly. I want to tell you this fast story. I've told this story. Most of you guys have heard it, but I am unable to believe that for so long I trivialized this 11th step stuff, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him. Praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. We're sitting at this conference one morning, and there was a men's conference, the same one that years later I would be in this debacle with this guy with the child molestation deal. And in those days, we were staying in these big cabins with 16 or 17 other men in this big bunch of bunks. And we were sitting at lunch one day, and I said, "Did you guys see those wussies this morning praying?" And everybody just stops talking. There's like 30 people within earshot of me, maybe 20 people within earshot of me, and everybody just stopped, and they just looked at me. And see, these guys that got out of their bunk in the morning and knelt by their bed, I thought they were men don't do that. Well, there's no praying in AA. Come on, don't do that. And it was the most baffling thing I'd ever seen. And I thought it was just like, get up, girls, come on, just crazy stuff. And so I say this, and guys, I think I'm being funny. I think it's hilarious. And Chris is sitting right there, and he's the first one to get up. It's like he can't get away from that table fast enough. And then another guy get up. Pretty soon they all get up, and nobody said anything. And I'm sitting at a table in a room with 250 other people, and everybody else is out there talking, and my little piece of table right there is totally empty. Except for me and Chris's sponsor, Mark Houston. And Mark's not saying anything either. And my face is like, I can't tell you. I'm embarrassed. I'm not sure why I'm embarrassed, but I just know that I've stepped in it. And Mark's looking at me. Correction, strike that. Mark's looking through me. It's like I can feel my insides melting and running out my butt. It's just like these little X-ray eye things at me, and I went, oops. And he just kind of looked at me like this, and he said, you don't pray? And I said, well, yeah, I pray. And he said, when do you pray? And I said, well, the truth, I pray in the morning when I'm backing out of the driveway. And he said, so faced with life and life's turmoil, you'll pray. Well, if you want to put it that way. He says, no, I want you to understand this thing. That's what you're doing. As you back out of the driveway, you're facing your work day, and your work day scares you, and so you're praying, right? Right. That's it. He says, if you look in the book and they talk about God being everything, or is He nothing? God either is or He isn't. What's the answer to be? And I said, yeah. And I started laughing at Mark, and I said, yeah, I know. I always wanted the third door. I always want there to be a third option there. God either is or He is not. What's the decision? And I'm going, can't there be a third option? Can He be sort of okay? And he goes, no, it either is or isn't. Make the decision. Okay, I'll make the decision. The decision is He's everything. Super. And if He's everything, you're telling me that you spend, a minute or two backing out of the driveway praying to Him? Yes, that's what I'm saying. Oh. Okay. And he just gets up. There's no closure on this. I'm just kind of feeling like he just got up. And I thought, couldn't he? I was waiting for some spiritual solution here. What is it? I mean, I'm waiting for something. And he just left me to stew in my own juices. I sat there at that empty table like I had some pariah. And eventually I got up, took my tray up, and went back to the deal and finished the day out. And it bugged me so badly. All night long I stewed about it, and I'm trying to have a good time and trying to put on a happy face and be the little sunbeam for Jesus, and I'm not. I just I just feel terrible. I just can't. So we go the next morning. We get up. I got up and I open my eyes and it's like 4:30 in the morning, and I'm looking around and there's nobody up, and I slip out of that bunk and I get down on my knees and I'm looking around and I'm going, I'm just gonna die if somebody sees me doing this. And I prayed. And I got up and I went to the bathroom and I remember thinking, holy cow, why do I feel different? Why is this so... It was like somebody had taken an electric cord and just stuck it right up my butt. I was just like electrified, and I'm standing there and I'm smiling in the shower, and we go to breakfast like this, and I'm kind of looking around and I'm thinking everybody looks different. It's like I'm not judging them. I'm just there. It's just I feel connected, and there's no judgmental nature in any of this stuff. And I'm thinking, what is this all about? You see? And it took a while for me to understand that the 11th step, the way that this stuff is set up, they break this stuff down and they tell us what to do in the morning. They tell us what to do at night, and it could be as brief as it needs to be. It could be as drawn out as you want it to be. But the point is that we spend time with God. If you're a parent, what's the coolest thing in the world? Spending time with your kids, especially as they get older. What's even cooler? Spending time with them. It's like they come through our lives so fast, and sometimes it's like we don't even have to talk. I just love being in the room with my kids. I just love it. And it occurred to me one night, isn't that the same thing that God wants? Just be in the same room with you, to be just there. You don't have to be flapping your gums. You don't have to be telling him a bunch of crap he already knows. Wouldn't it be great just to be in the room with him? You see? And you got to know that he's sitting there going, yeah, that's my kid right there. Yeah, he used to be a drunken bum, but look at him now. He's okay. You see? It's got to be cool. And the results of that stuff is that I began to be less and less offensive, and I began to be able to see things that went on during the day. And I could write them down briefly at the end of the night just so I could go to sleep. And I get up the next morning and I take that little list that I did. It just takes me 15 seconds to do it at night. I stepped on them. I was a little short with them. I need to spend some more time with them. And then that's it. And then I go to bed. In the morning I get up and I do what they've asked me to do in the work. It takes me just a few minutes to do that. And then I'm ready to rock and roll. On page 164 in the book, it talks about God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. What a great line. I used to think it was Bill Wilson just rhetorically saying something vague. I didn't realize that what it was Bill Wilson telling me the truth. I've come to believe that God may indeed be trying to tell me something every moment of every day. And it's my job to slow down long enough to listen to what He's saying. You see? And when I have succumbed to that and I just do what it is that I'm supposed to do, I find that my life gets better. That my dealings with my family are better. My dealings with the guys I sponsor are better. And it brings me to a place to where I can be effective as a sponsor in helping busted up little guys like Andy get this deal. You know, good stuff. Let's take a fast little deal like this, and when you come back, we're only going to do about 30 minutes when we get back, and we'll be done. But we need to cover this step 12 stuff, and it will be cruising. Okay?
Chris Raymer, recovered alcoholic. Welcome back. You guys are made of steel to stick with us this long. It's just these days get long. There's a lot of information here and a lot of stuff to assimilate. And we're in our last hour here. And I want to talk, I think, about some of the stuff that's nearest and dearest to me, and this deal called working with others and sponsorship. A lot of this can be misconstrued as being the same thing, but it's not. And on the bottom of page 129, I want to mention this to you. I'm in Alcoholics Anonymous for 7 years, listening to people tell me to take it easy and get my stuff straight first before I can go work with anybody. We have these unwritten rules all over the United States. You can't sponsor anybody until you're sober a year. You can't chair a meeting until you're sober 6 months. Y'all follow? You can't service blah, 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 blah. Bottom of page 129, about the middle paragraph on the bottom, it says, even if he displays, at the very bottom, guys, even if he displays a certain amount of neglect and irresponsibility towards the family, it is well to let him go as far as he likes in helping other alcoholics. During those first days of convalescence, this will do more to ensure his sobriety than anything else. This is an exact contradiction to what we hear in our fellowship. Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob understood it. That's why they went out the next day and started tracking down drunks to work with. They knew that if they didn't give this away, they weren't going to be able to stay sober. And yet our fellowship has gotten so damn sick with this idea that we can't do anything. The cats... Remember the window of opportunity we've been talking about? And this thing takes place is that what connects the dots for all of us is the working with others. I walk into this program and I've got such low self-esteem it's not even funny. And the old geezers knew that if they let me sit on my butt very long that I would go crazy. And because that's what they did for me forever. Welcome, you're here, sit, just keep coming back. But I would sit there long enough for my head to engage, and I would start thinking crazy thoughts and listen to a few of your war stories and then talk myself into leaving. And when I came back in 1987, the old geezers got in my face and they started to qualify me. They did what sponsorship was about. They qualified me first so that I felt comfortable in the room. And they started teaching me immediately about the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. They talked to me about traditions and concepts. And they talked to me about my one job is service. Folks, we work the 12 steps to have a thing called a spiritual experience. We take this awakened spirit back out there in the universe and see what we can help. It's that, I'm going to do this again, guys. I know y'all get tired of this. This is what goes around, comes around is all about. You know the circle triangle in Alcoholics Anonymous? This outside circle, that's what it's about. It doesn't come just to me to God. It goes to me through you to God, back around this way. And as long as I'm actively involved in this fellowship and trying to help other people, I'm golden. This book tells me on the bottom of page 129 that I'm supposed to go work with other alcoholics and do whatever I can do. Can I take them through the steps? No. I'm 2 days sober. I can't take them through the work because I haven't been through the work myself. I can't share what I don't have. But I can damn sure do some things that a lot of people didn't do for me for years. What is this big book? Where do you buy it? How much does it cost? Where's the bathroom? How much is the coffee? Will she put out? I mean, it's the information. No. The information, anybody can sit down with a couple of days sobriety and help somebody else. The problem is we are discouraged from day one to do that. You with us? Old hierarchy sponsorship. And this is where we get under a lot of people's nerves. Guys, there's a lot of ways to sponsor somebody. But the further away you get from what the big book tells us to do, the less effective it's going to be. Why in the hell do we have to reinvent the wheel? Yesterday, Myers was talking. In the early days, like the first 25 years, everything that came down the pike at Alcoholics Anonymous was filtered through Bill Wilson. Every mistake that could ever be made, they made before they did the traditions. Why do we have to reinvent the wheel? But they're all telling us the same thing. Get off your butt, start working for somebody else. You want to get out of your head, you feel low self-esteem, you don't like who you are, go help somebody else and you will. Or you can just go into another bathroom and look at yourself in the mirror and tell them you're Mr. Big Shot, happy, joyous, and free. You can lie to yourself in a mirror. Do some more positive affirmations. You see, this world is about working with others. And you look at any of the spiritual doctrine, first century Christianity was all based on that. Again, this is not therapy. This is spirituality into action. You'll follow? Spirituality into action means that I'm supposed to help you. If I'm going to go get a cup of coffee, I'm going to bring you a cup of coffee. That's what this is about. Make sense? Where can I help? I don't have enough snap to read. I can't do this. I can't do that. But maybe I can clean the room afterwards. But that's working with others. That's being of service. Y'all follow? What we're having now in Alcoholics Anonymous is a huge problem. I got this email from this cat. Now, this is the kind of sponsorship that I'm familiar with. It's not my sponsorship. This is the kind of crap that was floating around the fellowship in the 80s when I was trying to get sober. This is from a friend of mine in California, just sent recently, back in July. He's in and out for a long time, 12 years, and he relapses. At the beginning of May, he comes back to AA. By Memorial Day, I'd wondered why. I found a sponsor that had me reread Bill's story for the entire month of May. Now, on the surface, that sounds pretty good. Bill's story, some fascinating stuff. It talks about the necessity of working with others in there. It's great. Reread it for the entire month of May. Geez, I wonder why Bill Wilson didn't tell us to do that. Let me see. Then he announced he was leaving for vacation for a month and a half and instructed me to read the doctor's opinion over and over until he got back. Well, this is 2 months. Gave me his cell number, said he could go ahead and call, but if he really needed some help. But he gave me some other guys' numbers that he could rely on. Then he ended up getting hooked up with another guy over there that we know. It's a little big book thumper who took him through the 12 steps. Do we really think, are we going to be that irresponsible with a little newcomer coming in the door? We've qualified this cat. We know he's an alcoholic. And then we're just going to believe that he can just kind of coast through this. And within a few months, we can start working on the steps. In Toronto, they call it booking you. You stay sober a year and we'll book you. Book this. If I could stay sober a year, why would I need you? Y'all understand this? But yet it's rapid, and everybody says it, and nobody says anything about it. And that's what I'm saying. We've got old geezers in there that have laid the literature down. Bill Wilson's on his 9th day in Towns Hospital when Ebby comes and starts to do the work with him. He has his spiritual experience. He's making amends from the hospital. And he has his barn-burning spiritual experience. Never to drink again. And he leaves the hospital and he begins to work with others. And Dr. Bob takes him 2 weeks to do the steps and he's done. Bill Dotson, number 3, takes him a couple of weeks to do the steps and he's done. Everybody out there, the old geezers that are all dying off, they'll tell you, nobody took longer than 30 days to work the steps. Work the steps. There was no information of go to 90 meetings in 90 days. That is absolute rubbish. Meetings don't treat alcoholism. We've got to stop killing people, letting them do that. Why do we tell you 90 meetings in 90 days? This is how this translates. I don't have time to mess with you, so I want you to just go to meetings. And I feel like I've done something for you there, but I've done nothing. Isn't that the truth? Here's the gravy. So, I've been reading this forever from the deal. This was a grapevine article called Intergroup Ask, where have all the volunteers gone? This was written by the guys in New York at their Intergroup office. The most frustrating thing about answering Intergroup's phones, says Bob R., manager of Intergroup Association in New York City, is finding an AA member willing to take a 12-step call for some sick alcoholic who has phoned us for help. Sometimes it takes up to 20 calls to identify just one willing volunteer. Some of the responses we hear when we give a member, when we get a live member actually does answer the phone, he says, "What's a 12-step call?" Piss poor sponsorship. How did you get my phone number? Did you mean you actually want me to talk to someone who's still drinking? The saddest response came from a member who exclaimed, "No, I can't do it today. I'm busy all day. Today is my sobriety anniversary." Can y'all get down with this? Guys, we got sober so that we could turn around and help the next poor schlup up the hill. That's the only reason we got sober. God loved me enough to let me survive dumpsters in Houston, Texas, and a crazy existence. And I didn't die and I didn't go to jail so that I could do one thing. And that's to get my feet on solid ground in sobriety and experience an awakened spirit. So I could turn around and go help somebody else. We have a tendency in this fellowship to get really, really embarrassed. It's almost like we're apologetic about God. It's almost that we're all apologetic about what we're trying to accomplish here. And I got to tell you something, folks. As a fellowship, everybody needs to wake up. Driving through Houston, I've talked about this from the podium, driving through Houston in a pouring rainstorm, and I had the windows cracked because the windows are all fogging up, and they've got these guys out here working in the trench. And you know how they do. And they got 7, 8 guys in these yellow slickers, all of them with clipboards looking very businesslike. And there's 2 little Mexican guys down there in the trench. You can see from where I'm at, down in the trench, drowning in this trench, digging. Y'all follow? You got 8 guys standing up here in slickers, pointing a finger, telling these two little soaking wet gentlemen in the trench how to dig a hole. Welcome to Alcoholics Anonymous. It's the truth. Same people in this room that are sponsoring people sponsor all the people. And everybody else sits on the sideline and waits. That's not right. The same people volunteer for the committees. The same people chair the meetings. That's not right. It's why we have so many women leaving the fellowship. They get burned out. There's too many people. They all come to the same ones. We need to spread the wealth. We need to teach what this is about. Everybody gets to do this. To not allow somebody the opportunity to sponsor is doing them a huge disservice. You're missing the gravy of this. One night, a guy calls me on the phone. I've been sober about 2 months. And the guy calls me on the phone. And he's hooked up with me in the meeting because he's a cook. And I was a chef for years. And so we start talking. He works at the kettle, slinging eggs. And so we're laughing about this. And we hook up, we bond. Anyway, this guy calls me after the meeting. And he's all freaked out. And I'm over with some friends at the house, and we're all sitting around fixing to watch a show and like this. And I said, I'm not here. And the lady that answered the phone said, rubbish, you are here. There's the phone. And I'm talking to the guy and says, he wants me to go down and talk to him. He wants me to talk to him until 11 o'clock when his shift starts so he won't drink. Now, I get to decide right now, am I going to do what I've been doing for 7 years in Alcoholics Anonymous and sit on the sidelines, or am I going to get involved in this damn thing? Well, I've only been sober two months. He didn't ask for me to go work the steps with him. He asked me to go hold his hand and watch him for a few hours until he went to work. And I get to decide if I'm going to participate or if I'm going to back up. And I chose that night to participate. Cussing the whole way. Mind you with me? I was not a happy camper. Damn. The one night a week I get off and here we go. Now I've got to go help some drunk. Blah, 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 blah. And that's what I did. All right? Fast forward 3 hours. Comes back, everybody else is gone. That girl's sitting in there and she says, where have you been? And she says, no, never mind. I know where you've been. What happened to you? Because I've changed. The little guy that couldn't help anybody, that couldn't look you in the eye, now all of a sudden I've been spinning down there talking my story and he's sharing his story and I'm sharing a little bit what I know about the book, and neither one of us, the blind leading the blind. There was no miracle took place here, except that somebody finally pulled their head out of their butt and realized that they were to be of service. I don't know if the guy ever got sober or not. He stayed sober for a while. I don't know whatever happened to the guy. But I know this, that I drove home that night with tears in my eyes because I finally understood what this stupid program was about. And it's not sitting in a room talking about my day. And it's not getting tangled up in working the steps over and over and getting lost in the work. It's about helping another drunk. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. Male or female, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm going to say this and move. Let my brother finish this up. Because I don't want you guys sense a little sense of irritation here, perhaps. And I watch a lot of you people who you're going through stuff in your life that everybody goes through. But the problem is you're going through it not connected spiritually. Because you're trying to do the little issue man deal. You're trying to fix. Those are his eyes. Okay. little smile. Here's a little dip. There you go. Here's a little guy. All the X's on. We have X's on the little issue man. Y'all are trying to fix all this external stuff so you can be happy, joyous, and free, and then go work with other drunks. And what Bill Wilson tried to explain to us is you're not going to survive the certain trials and low spots ahead unless you go work with the drunks. You go work with the drunks. That's your job. I'll take care of this crap. I'll take care of your money. I'll take care of your health. I'll take care of the stupid relationship. You go be of service to somebody. I'm responsible. They say it. I'm responsible. They talked about it in the grapevine one time in box 459 again. There was a great article in there. They talked about why they didn't talk about we is responsible. They do that in Narcotics Anonymous. We are responsible. We are responsible. No, I'm responsible. It's got to start with me. It's easy for me to blame everybody else. The group sucks. My sponsor's no good. We can't do this. We can't do that. Our format's lousy. Change it. Please? Change it. You've got the power to do it. You know what to do. You don't have to argue with what the big book tells you to do. Just do it. If your meeting format's lousy and you're not getting what you want out and you're not getting to study the book, change the format. Oh, we can't. They've been doing it like that for 30 years. Yeah? How many people have they killed because they won't change it? Make sense? You don't want to change it? Don't want to ruffle a bunch of feathers? Still people-pleasing? Why don't you go start your own meeting with a nice rigid format that the traditions allow us to set up any way we want? How about a meeting that's for an hour, we talk about what step we're on, and we allow crosstalk? How's that? And we can ask questions. Oh my gosh, what a bloodbath it would be. How great it would be. Everybody would come armed. Oh, it would be but nobody wants to do that. Why? Because it's not the same basic, same old, tried and true, stupid, boring format that we've been using for the last 40 years. Open discussion, hell. Well, this is your meeting. Who's got the problem? Who gives a rat's butt who's got the problem? What I want to know is who's got the solution. Make sense? If you're if you're a young person and you're sober, you have the power to absolutely help somebody that's older. We've got to stop walking on eggshells, looking at this identification thing as the only deal. We've got to start thinking, I don't know who's God going to use to speak through to me. I don't know where my next guidance is going to come from. That's why I get so excited about this. Once you remember, once you realize that you can actually be of help here, the sky's the limit. But I'm going to tell you, because I've talked to a bunch of you this last night and again this morning. I've talked to a bunch of you. The spiritual path is a bear. It's narrow. It's fraught with problems. You get excited, and the first thing some old geezer wants to do is take a shot at you. You start enjoying your life, and you walk in and actually feel embarrassed to share your happiness because everybody else in the room is so damn miserable. And we start y'all. Yeah, some of you are looking down. I'm hitting some hot spots here. I understand that, but our job, the book said in the third step, is that we're supposed to bear witness to God's power. Now, my life is a hoot today as a result of getting connected spiritually. I've been blessed, folks. Blessed. Now, I'm going to go into a meeting and I'm going to share that. And I'm going to try to pull the newcomer with a vision. And I'm going to grab hold of those newcomers and I'm going to try to get them on the same path. I'm not going to strong-arm sponsor them. Myers will talk about it in a minute. We don't take sponsees on to raise, folks. I have a job. I'm going to get you through the work, and I'm going to hold you accountable after. And I'm going to give you an adequate presentation of what AA is about. Y'all understand that? I'm going to teach you about the traditions. I'm going to talk to you about AA etiquette. I need to tell you today, you guys have been, certainly somebody has taught you AA etiquette. You guys have been absolutely wonderful. I'm talking about getting up while the speaker's talking, slumping around, and wearing clothes that are inappropriate in meetings. Y'all understand AA etiquette. What's to do and what's not to do in AA. That's what we do. And if I can do that, then I can move on to the next guy. I sponsor, just like Myers said, I sponsor about 30 guys, some long distance. I sponsor about 10 guys local. And people are always doing the same. You can't sponsor. That's your ego. No, if you would sponsor a few more, I wouldn't have to sponsor that many. Fact. But you've got people walking around. Why is it that I got to email Julia in Switzerland to get her to work with a woman in the United States? Because I got too many women in the United States that know exactly where to buy nice, fresh, scented candles, but they don't quite understand how to finish a fourth step. No, it's the truth. You little cats that are in this room that have worked the steps and have been on the service line out there trying to help other people, thank you. That's all I can say. Thank you. You guys that have had some sobriety under your belt and caught fire again and you're back there in the trench with us helping us, because that's where we need you. All of us need to be in the trench heading in the same damn direction. Our job is to get the newcomer connected spiritually. And I take it serious. And I'm not going to crumble under a deck of cards. I'll say this. I'm not going to fight anybody. I've ceased fighting anything or anyone, including middle-of-the-road AA. I'm not going to go into a meeting and pick a fight with anybody. Y'all understand that? I'm not. The meeting goes lousy. It's not my meeting. I don't have a right to stir it up. But I am going to go to their group conscience and I'm going to try to make a change in that group. Every meeting ought to be a literature-based meeting, as far as I'm concerned. It'll never happen. But what we're starting to see around the world is more primary purpose group meetings, literature-based meetings. Y'all follow? We have an open discussion meeting where Patty and I go in Ingram, Texas. But the topic always comes out of the first 164 pages, and this is what we talk about. We have a bell ringer. If you talk longer than 5 minutes, we're going to ring the damn bell on you. And you're going to be embarrassed, and we're going to laugh. We are not laughing with you. We are laughing at you. And we have the best time. Why? It's because our ego wants to tell us that we have something important to say, more important than the little new guy back there. And we need to get to know the little new guy. So everybody just get in line. 5 minutes on this topic, and then we're going to move on. How cool is that? And you start looking forward to these meetings. I have a sponsorship lineage that's quite long. The guys I sponsor, if I'm sponsoring you and 6 months later you're not sponsoring somebody, we're gonna chat. Actually, that means that I'm going to talk and you're going to listen. And I'm going to find out who in the hell you think you are, because if I'm sponsoring you, you're through the steps way before 6 months. And now you're not sponsoring anybody? Makes sense? I'm watching you. And the little newcomer comes in the door, I'm watching. And you better have your little butt turned around watching the door too. Because when the newcomer comes in, we all know who the newcomers are. Y'all know. They got the look. They're vibrating. Y'all follow? And they got the look. You better be on them, because I want my guys to get them. Y'all follow? That's how this thing works. Because I want them to experience the joy of getting a chance to work with another drunk. Because once they experience that, they're never going to relapse again, folks. They're never going to go back out again. Because it's like dope. It's pretty heady stuff when you realize that you can participate in somebody else's recovery. 2 or 3 weeks later, he's got him in there like that. I've seen it a million times. Come into the group, look back over in the corner, and he's got this guy, and one of them, they're both on their knees over there doing a 3rd-step prayer, and he's taking him through the work. All right, now we're going to launch out on a course of vigorous action. That means you need to start working on a 4th-step. The little guy's looking up, okay, I can do that. And I'm sitting over there by the coffee room with tears in my eyes, understanding exactly what happened. 1939, Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob got together, and these cats came up with this book, and they started working with people. One drunk with another. Not from the podium, not in big workshops. One stupid little drunk working with another stupid little drunk, showing him how to have a spiritual experience. And that's how the message gets carried. We're not going to start a big... One drunk carrying the message of hope to another drunk. That's how it works. And on down the line. Because Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob didn't give a rat's butt what other people thought. They just were going to do this, and they knew what would work, and they didn't back up. They didn't have a problem talking about God. And when the meetings got crappy, they changed them, and they got very rigid about people and the time it took to work the steps. In 1987, after a suicide attempt, I walk into a room, and there's a bunch of guys in there that didn't give a rat's ass how I felt. They didn't care what I thought. They weren't working on tiptoes, worrying about my sensitive little feelings. They didn't worry about talking about God. They said, buddy, we can't help you, but a thing called a spiritual experience can. Are you willing to go to any length to get well? And I said, yes. And they showed me how to work the 12 steps. And I got sober. Oh my God. We spend so much time when you guys come to treatment and you guys come to AA talking about the damage you've done and the people that have been affected by your disease. We don't ever talk enough, I think, about the absolute power that takes place as a result of getting sober. One little knucklehead not drinking, being in the meeting at the right time to catch me. The rings of sobriety that come out from my lineage, come out from your lineage. You can't change the world? Don't tell me that. You don't know how powerful we are. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You have to know what's in the book, and you have to go get you a drunk. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. And then you too can have the same joy of knowing that you can do something that nobody else can do. And that's reach that person. I said it last night, and I'll end with it. God doesn't need any more Chris Ramers, and we don't need any more Myerses. We don't need any more We need you. We need you. Because you're the cat that's going to be able to reach the guy that we can't reach. Some people need a really in-your-face kind of approach. Do y'all think for a second that we go into meetings and talk like this? We're as quiet as we can be in a meeting. We're just talking, sharing just from the heart as a member. This is from the podium, talking to a room full of people. We're not there to beat up anybody or make fun of them when they misquote a passage. We're there with love and tolerance, trying to guide them to the light. And that's what we're going to do. Make sense, guys? And I sure hope I see you. We've got these cards up here. I mentioned to you, it's my hospital's number is on there, but I give them out because all of my emails on there and my phone number. We're not soliciting business there, but you guys can call me anytime you want. And it's toll-free number, and we've got that stupid email address. And how cool is that? And then we can stay together, folks, because you truly are brothers and sisters of mine. Thank you for letting us come up here. Thank you.
Almost done. I bet your little butts are so thankful. It's going to be good. We get to stand up in 15 minutes and be out of here. It's funny. We used to talk about this thing being the secret handshake of Alcoholics Anonymous. This deal of something miraculous happening as a result of the work that we were doing. And because of my perspective of seeing this thing through two different viewpoints, 7 years of doing as little as I could in AA, just coming and taking, and the last 14 years actually being there to give back and seeing the results of doing that. And over those years getting a chance to see the miracles that happened in your life and how just you can't argue with experience. You can't argue with what you're seeing in front of you. All the miracles that have come about by people that have been willing to submit to that simple process. Talking to a guy one time, and he was talking about how we couldn't go to some wind-up joint because he couldn't go to a wind-up joint because he hadn't been sober a year. And I remember we talked about it some. And a couple of days later, some guy sent me this little article, and it's just a little paragraph here, and it said this comes from when AA comes of age. And it said, it was soon evident that a scheme of personal sponsorship would have to be devised for the new people. Now, each prospect was assigned an older AA who visited him at his home or in his hospital, instructed him on AA principles, and conducted him to his first meeting. But in the face of many hundreds of pleas for help, the supply of elders could not possibly match the demand. Brand new AAs, sober only a month or even a week, had to sponsor alcoholics still drying up in hospitals. You see, this... I have within me 10,000 reasons why I can't help you. It starts with this: I'm too stupid. It does, every time. I'm not smart enough to help you. It's followed closely behind, I'm too busy to help you. I might hurt you. You just fill in the list, whatever the deal is. And it's interesting because it's the stuff that Chris talked about. We're faced with this situation where we have a fellowship out there where we have a bunch of us getting hard starts, just heading out doing exactly what we're supposed to be doing, and we have thousands of members of this fellowship standing in the way going, no, stop, what are you doing? Stop. Don't do that. You haven't been sober long enough to be helping that woman. What are you doing? You'll kill her doing this. You see? None of it based on our literature. None of it even based on experience. It's just based on an opinion. A man's opinion. He wasn't saying it out of malice. It was just in his opinion. It was another piece of that spoon-fed stuff that becomes my doctrine. And then I take that doctrine and it becomes my program. You see, instead of letting the literature dictate what it is we were supposed to do and not supposed to do, we relied so heavily on other people's ideas and opinions. And that's the danger. That's the stuff that we talked about at some length last night. It's interesting when you look at that conflict. Look at the title page to Working with Others. Chapter 7, Working with Others. It just says, practical experience shows that nothing will so much ensure immunity from drinking as intensive work with other alcoholics. We've read this a million times, okay? It works when other activities fail. Practical experience shows that nothing will so much ensure immunity from drinking as intensive work with other alcoholics. It didn't say anything about going to meetings. It didn't. There weren't anything else. Look at step 12, and this is an interesting point on this. I think if step 12 said this, and we'll read it off that thing too. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all of our affairs. Now, of interest, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message. What was the message we were trying to carry? That we'd had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps. That was what we were trying to carry to the new guy. Tradition 5, read it on the deal. Each group has but one primary purpose, to carry its message to the alcoholic who still suffers. What's its message? That we could have a spiritual awakening. We could have a deal sufficient enough to get us clear of the booze. Now, that's hard and final. That's the literature as it's laid out in front of us. And our job day by day is to ask ourselves, each individual one of us, where have we drifted from that statement? Are we in the meetings carrying a message of recovery? Or are we in the meetings sharing our day? What is it? What is it? Are we ignoring the new guy because we would rather sit down and talk about the football game that's coming up with our buddies? Sure, I understand that. But the only people, I'm not here to judge any of that. I'm just here to help you illuminate that stuff in the same way that I have to look at it. Today, was I effective at helping a brand new guy feel comfortable in my meeting that has 200 people in it? It's like a minefield. You can't move without stepping on a new guy. Was I effective in trying to help those guys? Or was I over there trying to talk about motorcycles to my buddies? Or what other lame thing I ever came up with? You see what I'm saying? Or chasing some skirt around? Or what What am I doing? And I have to ask myself those questions. Look at just a couple more references, and then I'll stop with this. At the bottom of page 14, picture this situation. Bill Wilson laying in this hospital, and he comes to this conclusion. At the very bottom of that page in a deal, it says, "My friend had emphasized the absolute necessity of demonstrating these principles in all my affairs. Particularly was it imperative to work with others as he had worked with me. Now, faith without works was dead," he said, "and how appallingly true for the alcoholic. For if an alcoholic failed to perfect and enlarge his spiritual life through work and self-sacrifice for others, he could not survive the certain trials and low spots ahead. If he did not work, he would surely drink again, and if he drank, he would surely die. Then faith would be dead indeed. With us, it is just like that." They gave us specific directions. Now, of interest, hold your finger on that page. Of interest in this thing, the very next paragraph says this: "My wife and I abandoned ourselves with enthusiasm to the idea of helping other alcoholics to a solution of their problems." Folks, I want to ask you, just between me and you, how long has it been since you abandoned yourself to anything? You know, I might abandon myself to learning how to play a guitar, or abandon myself to learning how to a foreign language, sometimes we do that in our life. But in AA, how long has it been since you simply abandoned yourself to the idea of helping a brand new guy? You know, fellowship-wise, it seemed to be more problem than they're worth. We seem to just go, "Oh shit, another new guy. Oh man." You see, that's going to distract us from being able to talk about Joe's divorce again. You see, it's just crazy. It's just. On page 160, and then I'll put this book down for a second. At the bottom of page 160, the very last line on that thing, it says, "He and his wife would leave elated by the thought of what they could now do for some stricken acquaintance in his family. They knew that they had a host of new friends. It seemed that they had known these strangers always. They had seen miracles, and one was to come to them. They had visioned the great reality, their loving and all-powerful Creator." Classic poetic Bill Wilson. Classic Bill Wilson. It's just the best deadgum stuff. "My wife and I would leave elated by the thought of what we could now do for some stricken acquaintance." It's always of interest to me, guys. Sometimes I think we trivialize where we've been. You know, sometimes it seems, doesn't it it seems like it's a dream. It seems like the bad times and the debacle of the drunkenness was just something that was way back there. And we tend to just make it be that, something that happened back there. And we don't realize that what happened back there made us uniquely qualified to try to help a brand new guy. Uniquely qualified. It's an amazing thing to think that we could be a busted up drunk, and 20 or 30 days later, we could walk free and clear of this deadly disease, fully recovered from this horrible disease. As an intellectual, I tend to look at it and go, how in the hell is that possible? Because you know what? There's not a whole lot of this thing that makes sense intellectually, really. If you were looking at it from a distance, you'd look at it and go, these guys are nuts. Let me see if I have this. I want to see if I've got this right in the big picture. All I'm required to do as a result of my sobriety is get off my butt and go try to help a brand new guy, and everything else will straighten out in my life? Well, that's stupid. You can't justify that. It's the truth. It's the truth. And any of you guys that have crawled off in that trench and are doing that work know exactly what I'm talking about. I'll tell you a real fast story and then we'll quit. Last night we were talking about me coming through this middle-of-the-road group, and I'd been struggling for 7 years, and for the last 3 or 4 years anyway, I'd been struggling mightily. And I got over to primary purpose group, and we were learning the book, and I was starting to, every meeting, I was starting to connect some little dots, and things began to make sense about what we were doing in the steps and what we were doing with why we were there, and I began to feel sort of connected to everybody in the room. And so a couple of years go by. Now I'm spending most of my time hauling Cliff Bishop around so he can do 12-step work. He's an old guy, and I'm just, he's teaching me stuff, but I'm not doing any talking. I'm not doing anything. I'm just hauling him around, and I'm thinking this is okay. This is what I'm supposed to be doing, and I didn't really embrace anything else. And if it was on a bell curve, you would see my life like this. You'd see it suck, and then it got better and better and better, and then it just kind of leveled off. My time at primary purpose was 2 years of just kind of level stuff. I'm better. I'm not doing goofy things anymore, but I'm still kind of where a lot of you guys might be. Some of you weren't, but I mean, it's just this kind of, it's not that I'm unhappy. I'm much better than I was. I'm not drinking. Things are better, but there's just no real joy in anything. There's no real coolness about anything. So one night we're sitting in this meeting, and it's just like a full, big old meeting, and everybody's like this, and as we close the meeting, I'm looking around the room, and I'm going, oh, shit. And it hit me like a ton of brick. This room is still full of people that are not like me. These people are different. And it was nothing tangible. Nobody said anything. It was just something that I made the connection and then went, shit. We get done with the end of the meeting, and I said, Clifford, can I have a couple of minutes? And he said, yep. And we walk into this little black back parlor. And I said, Cliff, I'm still different from you guys, aren't I? And he said, yes. And I said, Cliff, I just don't know what to do. I don't know how I can change this. And I'll never forget this, guys. It's like Cliff looks at the floor, and then he looks at the ceiling, and then he just kind of goes like this, and he just goes, all right, I'm going to tell you one more time. Apparently he'd been telling me this all along, and I'm just not hearing it. It took me a while to put the pieces together, but I told you I was slow. He goes, I want you to understand you're different because you have set a standard that you're going to follow here. You've set a baseline that says that you're going to do this, but not this. I said, what am I not doing? He says, how many men are you sponsoring right now? Well, it's kind of a dry period for me right now, Clifford. I'm not sponsoring anybody. He goes, oh, how about 12-step commitments? Tell me about your 12-step commitment. Where are you going to carry the message? Well, Cliff, I'm real busy hauling you around and, this kind of stuff like this. And he just kind of cut me off. He said, Myers, I tell you what, I'm going to make a suggestion, and if you don't follow it, I want you to just go away. And it's just Tuesday night, and I'm thinking he means go away till Thursday night. But it dawned on me like a ton of bricks. He could have hit me in the face with a sledgehammer. He meant for me to go away. He was done. And he just said, you need to do this. And I'm thinking, where's the love? Why would he dust me like this? And my feelings are instantly hurt, and I'm angry. And then I'm mad at him, and I'm all clenched up, and he says, tonight's Tuesday, tomorrow's Wednesday, we got a gig out at Salvation Army, and I want you to go to Salvation Army. And I said, I hate going to Salvation Army. I hate it. It's a sea of black men, and they scare the spit out of me. I don't want to go to Salvation Army. I'd been robbed a couple of times because I was in the wrong place at the wrong time in Houston, and I got beat up by black guys, and I took it real personal. Okay, all right, I'll let you know. And I walk out of the room, and I walk right into Dara, one of my best buddies in the whole wide world. And I walk into Dara, and I say, Dara, you ain't going to believe what that old fart told me to do. And she said, I bet he told you to go do some 12-step work. She has the teacher's edition too. How did you know that? How did you know that? And she goes, because it's what we all have to do to stay sober. It's what we have to do to stay happy. All right. So I turn around and walk back in there and say, Cliff, I'll go. He said, good job. Talk to you later. And I go down there. And I'm scared. I'm dreaded all day long. You guys, some of you have been there. I'm thinking, what in the hell does this pasty white kid from the other end of Dallas have to say down in the hood to this room full of black men? What am I going to say? I got 1,000 reasons to not go do this work. And I walked in, and I walk around the corner, and there is indeed 160 or 150 black men sitting in that room. Half of them got sunglasses on. Most of them have their arms folded like this. They're leaning against the back wall. And I'm thinking, oh, I don't know whether to crap or to run or to what. I just don't know what to do. And I just stepped up there. We did a little opening deal, and I stood up there, and I just went, okay, let's read something out of the book. We read a little out of the book, and I kind of illuminated it as we're going through the deal like this. And, one by one, these guys started taking their glasses off, and they started moving up a little bit, and they started getting engaged. And we laughed a little bit about some stuff, and pretty soon we get all the way to the end of this meeting like this, and I look at the clock, and it's time to go. And I great. I can't believe this. It's already over. And we joined up with this Lord's Prayer type deal. And we're all holding hands. Now, I'm a trained professional. I know what to do in the Lord's Prayer. We shake hands and then we let go and that's it. So we're all sitting in the Lord's Prayer and we go break. We're at the end of it and I let go, but these guys don't let go. They're holding my hand. And I'm thinking, my first thing I did was do this and I'm thinking, oh, this is where they kill me. This is where it all comes back. And I'm physically kind of sick at my stomach because I don't know what's going on and I don't know. And this guy says, he's standing right there, and he goes, can I ask you a quick question? I said, yeah. And he said, is there any chance you could come back tomorrow night and do this? Yeah, you bet. Well, you bet. Now, I'll tell you this, guys. I walked out the door. I walked around the corner away from them, and there's this long hallway, linoleum, green linoleum. It's an ugly-looking place, and I'm thinking, my feet are kind of sticking to the floor. You know those kind of places like this? It's kind of, and I'm walking down this thing, and there's a part of me that is going, I don't believe they want me to come back. This is the coolest thing in the world. And part of me is going, oh, shit, they want me to come back. I thought I was only going to have to do this once. I am so conflicted about how I'm feeling about this thing. And I get outside, and I'm sitting in the car, and I realize this may be okay. They didn't kill me. I didn't seem to kill them. Let's give this thing a try. So I go home. I wake up the next morning, and for some reason or another, I am excited about the prospects of the day. I go do the day, have a great day. The talk is not till 8 o'clock. At 6 o'clock, I'm at Salvation Army over on Harry Hines in this hot parking lot. It's 1,000,000 degrees outside. It's this times 10 with this hot wind that's blowing about 30 miles an hour. And I'm there 2 hours early sitting in this vehicle waiting to go in. I don't know why, but I'm afraid they'll start without me, so I got to get there. And I just, when it's time to go in, I walk around the corner, and this guy is like, it's like, you ever have anybody get in your space too quick? They walk up to you and they get in your space. They're like right there and you're going like this. Well, this huge guy, this huge black guy comes walking at me really, really fast, but he has some purpose to his step. And the last time somebody came at me with that kind of purpose, he had a bar stool in his hand. I don't like that kind of purpose like this. And he's walking, and as he's walking like this, I go like this and I pull my head back because I think he's going to hit me. And he's smiling, but I still think, and he's right here in my face, and he grabs me and he picks me up. And I'm just like, and I'm pushing as hard as I can push. I'm pushing as hard trying to get away from him because I'm still scared and I'm kind of shaking like this and I'm pushing and finally it occurs to me, this guy could crush me if he wanted to. He could do anything he wanted to with me if he wanted to. My feet are off the ground. I'm not even, it's just like they're just kicking. And finally I went, stop fighting him. And I just relaxed. Guys, it was like, I can tell you now it's like it happened yesterday. I can still tell you what that man's shirt smelled like. I can tell you what that flannel felt like on my face. I can tell you the kindness. I've never in my life, man or woman, has ever held me as gently and as tenderly as that big black man did. It was the kindest, most loving thing I have ever felt in my life. And years of prejudice, years of walking on the other side of the street when I saw a black guy because I was afraid he was going to come after me, all of that stuff just went away. You see? And he set me down, and he's holding me like this. And he goes, "We've been waiting for you all day." And I said, "Me too, buddy. Let's have us a meeting." And we did. We had us a barn-burning meeting. And those guys were laughing their butts off, and we were talking about all kinds of stuff, and it was just the book was alive. There was some great stuff said in the meeting, and it was just some fun stuff. And after the deal, we get around like this, and we do the Lord's Prayer, and I'm thinking, okay, I know what they're going to do now. They're going to hold my hand. And they did. We're just still, all of us, all these guys around this room. I got to tell you, if you ever have a chance to do the Lord's Prayer with 160 black men in a room, do it. It's the most powerful thing you'll ever hear in your whole life. And we go sitting there, and then this guy goes, "Can I ask you something?" And I went, "Yeah, I've already figured out how to come back." And he said, "No, that wasn't what I was going to ask you." He said, "Can you sponsor me?" And before I could say a word, there were 5 or 6 other guys raise their hand, go, "No, me too, like this. And I'm thinking, I'm going, "Yeah." And then I'm going, "What the hell did I just do?" I'm walking back down that old sticky hallway like this, and I've got my cell phone out. Click, talk to Cliff, and I go, Cliff, I got 6 men to sponsor now. What do I do? He says, well, you better learn that book, boy. Just like that. And it was the truth. It was gloves off. It was time to stop playing AA and be serious about AA. It was time to stop being a phony. It was a time to crawl off in the trenches and actually do what I was called to do, which was to be a sponsor. To sit there and try to be as strong a sponsor as I could possibly be. And what happened over the next 6 or 7 months was the craziest thing in the world. I helped hundreds of guys go through the work, and believe me, things will get really clear to you about what it is that you need to be doing when you get in that kind of situation. And there's one of those places waiting for every one of you, a place where you can go to carry the message, because there's so many people out there hurting. One more thing, and then we're done. This deal about sponsorship and about sponsoring more than one guy at a time and this kind of stuff, I know that we have a fellowship out there telling us that you can't sponsor more than one guy, 2 guys maybe, 3 guys most, and that's it. You can't do any more. How many of you guys got kids? If you got kids? Okay, stop and remember when those kids are little, when they're infants, and you're just all over them. I mean, they go this way, you go this way. They go this way, you go this way. You've got your arms out everywhere you can. I mean, you're right there with them as you're working with them. Now, as they get a little bit older, you tend to back up a little bit. And they got to fall and bust their head, and you pick them up, and you tell them you love them, and it's going to be okay. And then you see what I'm saying? But this is how we teach them. By the time they get to elementary school, you're kind of doing the best you can. You're still guiding them, you're still directing them, but you're kind of like standing back a little bit. By the time they get to high school, these better be healthy kids. They better be doing okay. If they're not by then, it's time to get back in the middle of this thing and see what's going on. You see? It's like a big funnel type deal like this. It's just in the beginning we're holding them real tight, and then as they get older they spread out a little bit, and we begin to let them do what they're going to do, because they're manifesting healthiness in the way that they behave, in the way that the relationships that they pick up, in the commitments they pick up, in the way that they deal with everybody. It's healthy stuff. And if you're not seeing that, if they're still goofy and they're lying to you and they're shirking responsibilities and they're downrange that far, stop them. This is why we want to be involved in the deal. We can look at them and say, okay, something's not right here. By now, you should be standing on your own 2 feet sponsoring guys. How come you're not? Let's find out what it is that didn't get done. What piece of deception was here? What piece of whatever it is? God will show you what it is. Pray about it. Watch the guy, and I promise you, it'll come to you. You'll go, is it a step one truth? Is he trivializing? Has he got defiant? It doesn't matter. You'll see it, and then you can gather him back up again. But the process, the little part of the funnel where you're holding them real close, only lasts 20 or 30 days. And then it gets easier and easier to do this, remember? So that you can effectively do that. You can easily sponsor 20 or 30 guys. Easily. Guys, for a 5-year period, I was listening to the 3/5 steps a week. For a 5-year period. I promise you, you can do that. And I have a full-time job and 3 daughters and a wife and all kinds of other interests. I have lots of other interests. You can do this. You just don't buy into the bullcorn. Don't buy into it. At the end of the day, guys, this is about being of service to somebody else. It's about being there to help somebody get through this deal. If there is ever anything that we can do, we talked about this thing being. There's always a piece of me that's fearful that you will take what we say as an excuse to go back in and beat your original home group up, or beat your club up, or beat your sponsor up, or whatever. I mean, I get the fallout downrange, you see. The emails will start coming in tomorrow, and I'll get the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'll get all the stuff. And it's an interesting deal. This is not about taking hostages, guys. This is not about being zealots in AA. The stuff that we talked about Friday night. This is not about that. This is about simply aligning ourselves with the will of a loving God that wants us to be of service to somebody else. We do that, and then He takes care of the rest of the stuff. And one day you'll wake up and you'll realize that the relationships are going okay, and work's going okay, and it's just fun to be alive. It's just exciting. There's all kinds of cool stuff to how long has it been since you did something really fun and creative? How long has it been since you played some cool music or read a great book or there's so much fun stuff out there to do. And once we get the rest of this stuff out of the way and God begins to open the rest of this stuff up to you, you're going to be able to find so much to do. You wanted to go back to school? Go back to school. You see? You want to learn a language? Learn a language. You want to, whatever. Do it. There's nothing to stand in your way. And that's the cool part about this deal. If there's ever anything that I can do to help facilitate this stuff in any way, I got your back, brother. I'm there to help in any way I can. And again, thank you so much for your hospitality and your kindness. It has indeed been our pleasure to be here. Thank you.
What can I say? I got to say that this was organised at a barbecue about nearly 2 years ago. I wasn't very well at the time. I had some kind of Texas chainsaw virus that took me out for about 24 hours. I don't know what you folks feel like, but as far as I'm concerned, it's exceeded all expectations. As far as these guys are concerned, you give a big hand for that. Really. I listen to these guys a lot, and that was one of the best workshops they've done in a long time, believe me. Thank all of you. Couldn't have happened without you. Some of you travelled an awful long way to be here. Yeah? Incredible. Give yourselves a hand too. I'd like to thank Alan for doing the tape. Andy for the reading this morning. Peter for helping me set the room up. Simon for doing a huge amount of legwork around this stuff. Yeah. Whoa. This is an honest program, and we're not going to break even. I've got to say that. What we're going to do is we're going to leave the bag by the door. But that's okay. God's got all the money. It's not a problem. It's okay. What we're going to do tonight after this is done, about 7 o'clock, we're going to be down at the pizza place by the bus station, which is a big pizza place. Apparently there are hundreds of tables. Apparently we sure ought to get in. If anybody's interested in come and having a pizza with us tonight, we'll be down there about 7 o'clock. Okay. It's known as which one is it, Andy? It's just La Pizza, is it? Yeah, it's right next to the police station. It's right next to the police municipal by the bus station. In Cannes. It's a big place, you can't miss it. It's a big red sign that says La Pizza. No, it just says La Pizza, I think. I don't know, but it's red sign. It's the first one you come to after you leave the bus station towards the sea. First one on the right. You'll see a whole bunch of drunks hanging outside. It's okay. I'm gonna just one small just before we finish, one small little publicity deal. We meet twice a week. 7:30 on a Saturday in Antibes, and 7 o'clock Monday in Cannes. We study this book, that book. We try and do what's in this book. Yeah? And we try and do what these guys are talking about all weekend. Okay? Join us. You're very, very, very welcome. Okay. Finally, we of Alcoholics Anonymous believe in the principle of anonymity. has an immense spiritual significance. It reminds us that we are to place principles before personalities, that we're actually to practice a genuine humility, this to the end that our great blessings may never spoil us, that we shall forever live in thankful contemplation of him who presides over us all. And let's conclude with the Lord's Prayer, or a prayer of your choice, said in silence. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Peace.